Josh, you ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. Joey, you ready?
I'm ready.
All ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Did you even watch SpongeBob?
Yeah, I watched SpongeBob.
Okay, it wasn't you.
I
Then.
watched at least a bit
No,
of it.
it was Aiden didn't watch a lot of SpongeBob.
That's what it was.
I think that she moved around a lot as a kid, and her access to cable was extremely sporadic. Which is why we got to get her to Wendy's for a real Krabby Patty.
Is this
a
really?
real one.
This is what we're starting
a
with.
thing.
Yeah,
really on the
we're set.
research log.
This is big news, Joey.
I did a ready check, and I was listen. Why not? We got to talk about it. We got to talk about the Krabby Patty.
Why the hell do
We
we
can't not talk
Which
about
one
it.
of us in here is invested in the Krabby Patty?
None of us. That's why it's so funny.
Okay.
Because you were
Now
talking
we
about
can
this before.
finally know
Okay.
what the formula is.
Because this came up when we were hanging out like a week or so ago.
Okay.
This came up. You mentioned this, and I was like, on one hand, I'm like, I would love to do like a sarcastic, fast food taste
Yeah.
test thing. Like you and I would go get a Krabby Patty, and like we just talk about whatever and never actually eat it. But and your point was like, why would you ever? Why, if you were a fan of SpongeBob, would you ever want to eat
The taste what it, yeah.
to know what it tastes like?
Yeah, to break the illusion, to break the magic. Because here's the
The
thing.
illusion is that it's the greatest thing ever.
And this is Wendy's we're talking about, okay? We should just do like a fast food tier list because
Okay,
everybody on
sure.
YouTube loves tier lists. We're not doing it right now. I'm just saying
The flag of the unemployed.
every
Oh, Lord.
but it's like you like Wendy's or you don't like Wendy's. Nobody's putting Wendy's above B tier, okay?
yeah, it's
they're
a B tier
physically
restaurant.
incapable of making a banger burger.
I think Wendy's on a good day is in the acceptable category.
Correct. That's
It's in
I
wicked
think
decent.
Wendy's-
yes, exactly.
I think every time I've been to Wendy's in like the last 5 years, I get their chicken because I think it's better than their burgers.
Well, this is my Wendy's experience. Okay, maybe I'm just
Hashtag my Wendy's experience.
hashtag my Wendy's experience.
Hashtag not my Krabby Patty experience.
Yeah.
Like this, I've gotten two things from Wendy's. I got a pretzel bun burger thing, and
Okay.
it was fine.
Yep.
And I've gotten buckets of their cheap chicken because friends were hanging out, and we need buckets of cheap chicken.
Yep. That's the move
And
when you go to Wendy's.
it was indecipherable from Burger King's buckets of cheap chicken. Both of them had, it was like you could get, I don't even remember what the deal was. It was like 10 nuggets for like $1 or $2.50.
I
think. And so we
disagree.
would get like 100 of them.
I think it's a bit better than Burger King, but
When you
fair
listen,
enough.
when you're
keep going, buddy.
if you're buying, I feel like it's a different experience.
After
If
the
you're
100th
buying
one,
a
you don't care anymore.
if you're buying a box of like, I'm gonna get like a snack of 10 nuggets, or not snack, but you know what I mean. Whatever, you're getting the nuggets meal. You're getting 10 nuggets from either place. You can have a conversation. But when you're getting the slop bucket of 100 half regular, half spices, there's no distinction between there and Burger King. It's all the same. Once it's all the same once it's in your body and you realize that the spicy nuggets aren't really spicy, but they taste toxic, and now you feel gross because you've had 30 of them.
That's fine.
That's the
fine.
same. It's the
I
same
agree.
experience and feeling both times. All of this to say, the Krabby Patty is not worthy of Wendy's.
The Krabby Patty.
Sorry,
if it was
Wendy's is
ever
not
put in
worthy
the-
of the Krabby Patty.
If it was ever put in the real world, which I'm not super invested in SpongeBob, but I enjoyed it. I enjoy it. It's funny. I think it's authentically funny and enjoyable. Like
Yeah,
the earlier stuff is still good as an adult.
That's the thing, is like I enjoyed watching it as a child. I enjoyed the SpongeBob movie, but I'm not super invested. I'm not that one mutual that draws like SpongeBob OCs and like pictures
Wait,
herself
what?
with Bubble Bass. I'm not like her. More power to her, though. You know what? You've got your thing, and you've got artistic ability to draw, and I'm jealous of that. But that's about it.
Oh boy.
You are artistic and you have integrity.
But God bless, I'm not that invested.
I think that, but like it's just like part of the joke almost is that this is it's just like a crappy single location fast food restaurant run by a guy who like doesn't seem like someone who would authentically care about quality. but he seems to have is this burger really the best burger ever, like Joshua said a minute
No,
ago?
it's not. That's the whole joke.
Or is it just fine? But
it is literally good burger. Like that's the whole premise.
I mean, but the problem is, but SpongeBob. But here's the thing: but SpongeBob is such a good fry cook that he elevates it. He puts so much passion and talent into it that the burgers become godlike.
The secret formula.
And there's one episode where Squidward tries one for the first time and loses his mind because it's so good.
It's not even just that.
Yeah, but that's because Squidward has never had a good grease.
It doesn't matter. No. Y'all are forgetting about a very specific episode. You're forgetting about the time that Neptune challenged SpongeBob to a cook-off, and Neptune made like 1,000 imitation Krabby Patties, but he had SpongeBob's one lovingly crafted Krabby Patty, and he cried because it was so good.
That's just because that was just a reference to Devil Went Down to Georgia.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The point is, it was made with love. You're right, Joshua. It's that SpongeBob himself is the secret formula.
Exactly.
So,
and SpongeBob doesn't work at Wendy's.
The friends we made along the way.
SpongeBob does not work at Wendy's. Joey is correct. There's no point.
There's no point. It's
you shouldn't know what it's like. What could be so good about this burger? There can't be anything. So we don't want to know. I don't want to taste it.
If this was being made at like Slater's 50/50 in like Arizona or whatever, where they just make the good burgers. If this was
being served at a gourmet restaurant across the street from the SpongeBob on Broadway show in Manhattan,
then it's like that's worth getting. But this slop from Wendy's.
Is it good? Is it not good? It doesn't matter. That's the mystique. I don't ever want to watch an episode of SpongeBob and know what it tastes like is the point.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it and go, oh, well, yeah, I know what that tastes like.
Because the thing is, I see the commercial for it and I'm like, I wouldn't like that. And it's like, but I want to believe that I would like the Krabby Patty
is good. I want to believe that it's that good. Yes, we did start the episode with this.
So anyway, hey everybody.
What's funny is
welcome to the SpongeBob cast.
This is what rock bottom sounds like.
This is what it sounds like when
just like that episode of SpongeBob.
This is what it sounds like when your YouTube career is completely cratered.
No, we haven't made the tier list yet, though.
Yeah, I was about to say we didn't complete the tier list.
Listen, I texted you this, but it's like human beings. It's in our DNA to like tier lists. We made the great chain of being, and that is the ultimate tier list. I don't agree with the great chain of being, but
Burger King is worse than Wendy's. I said it, guys. I'm sorry. I have to throw it in the C tier.
Josh, calm down.
I want to die.
I actually disagree.
Did Gilgamesh
was there a tier list?
Was there a tier list in Gilgamesh? It could be on one of the tablets. That's like
one of the tablets.
That was the 12. That was the 12 trials of Hercules, dude. He ranked them afterward.
Yeah, afterwards he's like,
flying pretty high.
I guess technically God, when he passed down the commandments, they were in order.
They were.
Perhaps.
When God passed down his message to his followers, they came in the form of a tier list.
They came in the form of a tier list.
Like in the movie version of the...
He begged his followers to retweet his tier list.
It was literally a top 10 list.
in the was it the 10 Commandments, the movie, right, from the 50s?
Top 10 ideals to live by.
You know how like Moses comes down, he looks like completely different? That was because God introduced him to YouTube tier lists.
Oh yeah, he saw beyond
he
the
was
veil.
stunned.
How do I get everybody to engage with this? What you laying down the law? You need to put it.
Thou must make us a tier list.
They didn't know about
top 10 list.
They didn't know about Watch Mojo back in the day.
Top 10.
Oh my gosh.
Top 10 rules for being a good neighbor and surviving in the desert that you didn't know.
Yeah.
He's just pogging at the screen. This sucks.
Last time around, our show was maybe too structured, though.
That's true.
We were just talking about gas the whole time. Now we got almost nothing on.
How long did that end up being? Was it
I think we recorded for like 5 hours, and I cut it down to 4. I think. I removed almost all discussion of Concord's character designs because what's the point?
What's the point?
I listened to that, and it was like a fever dream. Y'all just kept going.
There's a lot to say. There's a lot to break down.
It's true.
Let's break it down.
4.5 hours for the last one. Let's go.
I caught that, Joshua. Let's break it down. Let's break it down. But yeah, not a lot to talk about today necessarily, like specifically on the docket. I just thought we would hang out. We did record a discussion relatively recently we did a movie discussion, myself, Joey, and Aiden. And I really thought I'd get that out like right away, and I have not had any time to work on YouTube in the intervening weeks. This sitting down to do this is the first thing related to YouTube I've done other than putting the finishing touches on. No, actually, I even did that weeks ago. The movie review that I posted on Patreon recently for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. That I wrote a while ago, and I actually prepped it. Like, I prepped the Patreon post and had it saved because it was going to release at the same time as that movie discussion video, which I thought I would get out quickly. That 4.5 hour long video, I don't remember how many days it was, but I released it like less than a week after we recorded it, which is
it was impressive.
Pretty good for me.
Yeah.
But I was like, I really need to rush this one because it's, full of relevant stuff. But I've been so busy, I haven't been able to work on anything, even if I'd wanted to. If we had recorded that podcast in the last 2 weeks, it wouldn't be out. It just would not be out.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah, so let's hope that the Wendy's Krabby Patty becomes a staple and it's around for 6 months, because I don't know when this episode's going to release.
Maybe there'll be some massive controversy with it, like it contains an unacceptable amount of lead or something.
It's going to have caffeine, like the freaking Panera lemonade.
Yeah, somebody with a heart condition is going to be killed by the Krabby Patty.
Isn't there a plot line about people like falling into comas because they eat the Krabby Patty?
No, I was going to say someone's going to get crabs from the Krabby Patty.
Oh, no.
Oh, so true. That bastard crabs.
They don't even have seafood at Wendy's. Like, God, what a...
Because Wendy's is...
Well, because it's beef. That's the whole joke, right?
What a misstep. God.
It's just someone gets fired for that blunder.
Exactly. It's
because Wendy's is prolific. Wendy's is everywhere. It's easily accessible. It's one of the more populous ones other than McDonald's.
If you're listening to this, don't eat Wendy's this week. Don't do it.
Just don't do it. Just don't.
The next time you think I want to get some Wendy's, have more respect for yourself.
And while you're at it,
go get something better.
And while you're at it, if you're an artist or whatever, get off Twitter, because they're about to start stealing your stuff to feed AI.
What are you talking about?
And they're also about to make it so that the block button doesn't work properly anymore, which may or may not be a violation of the requirements. That may or may not be a violation for the requirements that Google Play Store and Apple Store have for social media apps. So that may not stand, but we'll see what happens.
I thought they already made the block not work. I seem to recall hearing about that a while ago.
They announced it a while ago, and they're only just now implementing it.
Basically,
how it works now is if you block somebody, they still can't engage with any of your posts or reply to them, but they can see your account. This now for someone like Joey was joking about like Harada's got to get off Twitter now. For guys who are just like, I don't want to talk to you, blocked, it doesn't matter. But for people who are legitimately being actually stalked or harassed,
that's the problem. 100%.
It's a serious
100%.
issue.
It's a real problem.
Yeah. Now they're also announced that hey, all text, and I think it was unclear how images are not going to be impacted, but all written text uploaded to Twitter will be used as source for machine learning AI.
Oh, I thought it was only images. Is this
no? The text is the
everything.
one part that's hard confirmed.
All of the Gen Alpha brain rot will soon be in Chat GPT.
So what I'm hearing is I need to start writing the hell of a boss writers on there and just absolutely destroy the AI. I
was thinking I should if my account was more popular, we should get
post Dracula flow on loop.
No, we should get a movement started where everybody just starts posting false information.
Yeah.
Everybody just starts posting false and poorly structured sentences.
Good.
Start making up fake news too. You know?
Absolutely. That'll really help because there's enough of that out there already.
I can't believe the Burj Khalifa just inverted.
Did you know?
How'd that happen?
How did that happen? I can't believe Shrek did that.
Did you know that a hurricane spawned in the middle of Arizona?
What?
Just like that.
That's crazy.
Headed up north.
Oh my gosh, this goes against all laws of weather. I'm just kidding.
Scientists say global cooling is responsible.
And it headed up north, and it flooded the Great Plains. We now have instead of the Dust Bowl, we now have the Mud Bowl.
The Germans would have us believe.
Or so the Germans would have us believe. But anyway,
did you know the Great Kali Desert? That's not what it was. That one.
Rubal Kali.
Never mind. The joke's dead. I was going to talk about that desert that flooded recently as a joke.
Sahara Desert, which
the
did
Sahara. I was going to make a joke and be like, oh, wait, no, that's real. But it's all over now. It's because I ruined it. I got Crabby Patty onto mine.
That is a fun news item, though, that sections of the Sahara Desert flooded due to a higher than usual rainfall.
Yep, and it's like, what?
Hasn't happened in like 20, 30 years, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Very cool, very cool. I only saw a couple of pictures. I was like, I feel like I should be seeing like dozens and dozens and dozens of pictures.
It looks cool, at least. I don't know what the impact of it is.
Should do like a wave race level. You know what I mean? A wave race level that's flooded Sahara. That would be good.
Yeah, dude. Get everybody that lives around the Sahara, get their sea-doos out, right? All the dozens and dozens of people that have sea-doos over there.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you don't know.
I don't.
You don't know I don't know. On. We don't know that much. Listen, this is a big problem with Americans, and I would say the rest of the world in general, is we really don't know that much about the real Africa.
What's the percentage of Americans that think that Africa is a country still? Like, it's probably still hovering around the 30s, right?
What percentage of Americans think Africa is a country? And we'll ignore the AI-generated answer.
No.
What are you talking about? It's never wrong.
I guess I could. I told you, or I showed y'all last time I was here, but I guess I can bring it up now. Yeah, don't ever whenever you're using something like, say, Google, and an AI answer appears at the top of the screen.
There is in fact an AI generated overview, which I'm gonna skip past.
Don't ever believe it. Don't ever use that. It's awful. I don't know if you can still do it, but the other day, I saw a post and I tested it myself. I typed in, what's the difference between a sauce and a dressing? And it basically described what a sauce was, and it was like, a dressing is used to help heal and close battle wounds. It's like, you're not wrong, but come on now.
That's not what I asked you, though.
But I've seen other ones that are just actually wrong, where it's just like, what's the healthy amount of semen I should be? Not. Oh God, I said, oh no, I meant cement. No.
Oh, that's what you get for being Southern.
We were listening
I would get cucked, is what you would. I would get banned for cucked.
Oh, I will get cucked.
You were reading too much Dracula flow earlier. I got it on the brain.
Damn, the only thing that's actually giving me a percentage is Google AI overview, but I'm not reading that shit.
Yeah, because where did it get that percentage if nobody else is, doing anything about it?
Well, I mean, usually you can click links to see what it's referencing.
What is the healthy amount of glue one should eat?
Actually, the AI overview is kind of useless. It's kind of like old Wikipedia, but you can if it actually links it.
There's a link to there's a link to a Boston University paper titled, clearly sarcastically, I didn't know there were cities in Africa.
Well, and there you go. So it's actually citing a legitimate source. I don't know if that source says
no. That's not what the AI overview is. I'm just saying that's another thing I see on Google. I haven't had a lot of time for YouTube recently.
Okay.
I haven't had a lot of time to play video games recently either.
Yep.
I
haven't had a lot of time.
You should really focus on mobile games. You really always have your phone with you.
Dude, I should play like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, now it's dead.
I have played a little bit of original Hades recently when I'm on trips for
sick.
When I'm on trips for work, if I'm if I'm on a plane and I'm like, well, people are sleeping, I don't want to turn on lights and bug people. Instead of reading, I'll pull out Hades. But I've been reading a lot more recently than I have in a while, really. Latest thing that I read, I'm actually going to mention this because I don't know if they'll see it, but somebody in our comments section or a stream on chat once specifically asked if I'd read this. It was a year or two ago. A book called The Devil and the White City. Which is it's a piece of historical journalism, so it's very well researched, but it's written sort of with the flow of a novel. About the 1893.
My inner historian will try to maintain his composure and not be like.
How so?
Just because journalistic history and regular history do not get along. It's all right. Continue. I'm just being an asshole.
The fun history versus the real history.
Correct.
Yes, no,
that is correct.
Is a historical nonfiction book presented in a novelistic style, is the way that Wikipedia describes it. But it is about the development of the 1893 World's Fair.
Okay.
Basically the people involved in planning it, the architects, business interests, the ups and downs of getting everything going, and then the results of the festival, or the fair. Important cultural touchstones and historical events that came up around it, the invention of the Ferris wheel, a bunch of other stuff that arose alongside it. And then the B plot is about a serial killer who was operating in Chicago in the years before and during the fair. Which it was a very
Wasn't
very
he
high.
also the first high profile serial killer in the U.S. like the U.S.'s history as a whole?
Yes, that's basically, at least that is how the book frames it, and I would say it's probably fairly true, because it's like before then I bet you didn't have newspapers weren't as quickly and nationally circulated.
Yeah.
But not that there weren't national newspapers, obviously, but a lot of it was more like I get a weekly paper in my podunk town, if I even get that. By that point, telegram wires were everywhere. There was more circulation on newspapers. But yeah, it was one of the things the book talks about is that this dude was technically alive and operating a few years after Jack the Ripper. And the book frames it as, people are reading about the story of Jack the Ripper overseas, doing all this stuff and going, well, gee willikers, thank God that's over there in the old country, and nothing like that would ever happen here.
Nothing ever here.
And yeah, this guy operates in like the thing that's the thing is, like, I'm not a huge true crime guy.
Yeah.
It's just not it's not my favorite thing in the world, and I generally found
I just think it's kind of morbid, to be honest.
It can be sometimes, but it can also be interesting.
It's only morbid until you're desensitized to it.
It's just true. I think
is true, I guess.
The main problem that I had with the serial killer stuff is that, like, I generally found the stuff about the fair more interesting.
Right.
Because it had significantly more ups and downs. Like, once the dude has established his method, it's like, oh, guess he's gonna kill this woman now. Like at a certain point, you're like, okay, eventually, like when like he gets,
it.
Yeah, I got it.
Another death. Now go back to the fair.
Yeah, go back to the happy woohoo pizza time fun times.
I want to learn more about the Ferris wheel.
I want to learn more about the Ferris wheel. I want to learn more about how many stockbrokers and bankers shot themselves when the market crashed in '93. I distinctly remember I handed the book to my dad at one point. So one thing. So with regards to it being like a nonfiction book, it never supposes dialogue for any of the people in it. It does occasionally suppose scenes. For example, like, at a couple of points he details, like, this is probably how this woman was killed. And it's like, hey, she's dead, so she can't tell us. And the dude didn't tell us either. But based on the forensic evidence and based on what we've heard from people who were adjacent, it may have gone something like this. And the dude has like extensive notes at the end being like, this is what I referenced, these are the facts, this is where I, projected a little bit, I elaborated a bit. But he never invents quotes. He never invents dialogue. The only time you ever see something in quotation marks is if it is from a letter somebody sent, or a transcript of a speech, or something like that.
Cool.
So if you read this person said this thing, then they said it at some point on the page or in a room where it was recorded.
Yeah.
So that like helps quite a bit in selling it and giving you a sense of, this guy's not just pulling stuff out of his butt when it comes to the character of these people. There's just a lot of really interesting history, like, intersecting and weaving in and out of it. That's the thing. That's why you want to go back to the fair. You're like, what other, like, crazy historical figure or, like, important touchstone cultural moment is about to dance, like, just flit through the frame and be, like, a totally unimportant footnote in this. Like, there's a bit where one of the guy who's, again, like, where it's framed as he's, like, kind of the, like, just a really self-centered, narcissistic asshole amongst the Chicago architects who are instrumental in building this thing, but, like, his firm's kind of too big and he is skilled, so he can't be cut out. And he's like, nobody really likes him. He doesn't get along with anybody. And there's an anecdote very, very near the end of the book where during the economic downturn following the fair, his firm only gets like 2 contracts for buildings in a year. And he finds out that one of his employees is taking contracts solo outside. He is taking contracts to build and design houses on his own time. So So he fires him. And it was Frank Lloyd Wright.
That bastard. How dare he?
So it's just stuff
what
like,
a greedy bastard. I'm glad he got out of here.
It's stuff like that, right?
And I'm sure he never made a name for himself afterwards because he wasn't loyal enough.
Yeah, stuff just like keeps poking its head in like that throughout the book. It's really interesting.
Well, I mean, that's the entire freaking premise of the opening episode of Defunctland Season 3, right?
Yes, is how many weird things intersected. Yeah, it's very clear that episode of Defunctland, this book was a major source for that video. But there's so much other just neat stuff that happens. But the detail with the serial killer storyline, the thing that like stands out about it is the fact that he operates like completely above suspicion. This isn't a guy where, like, unlike Jack the Ripper, where we never found him, we don't know who it was. This is a dude who was eventually caught, who was eventually hanged, and it's like unclear how many people he actually killed. But he killed a lot of people, and people kept coming into his orbit and then disappearing, and like, you know, like it's part of what it's framed as is like, you know, people come into the big city, come into Chicago, it's this active place, but it's kind of dirty and it's kind of dangerous, and, you know, young wide-eyed people coming there and not really knowing what to expect and being too trusting or being taken in by this guy who is like clearly like a textbook sociopath, but really good at acting.
Yeah.
Like he's emotional, like he can turn on the charm really easily. He can turn on the waterworks really easily. This is a dude who like is continually borrowing money and not paying people back and like taking stuff out on lease and not paying them. And he creates like a fake other person who owns his building who's like, yeah, man, when people show up, like, where's my effing money? He's like, yeah, man, you know, the guy who owns this building who definitely isn't me, you know, I'm waiting for him to get back to me too. I can't find him anywhere. And this dude, like, he's like so good at convincing people that he's well-meaning that he just skirts by for years without anybody getting seriously suspicious.
Isn't that what happened with like Ted Bundy? Where, like,
yes.
They had all the evidence for him. Like, they had the car, they had what he looked like, and everyone knew it lined up with Bundy, but it was just, everyone thought, well, it couldn't be him.
Yes.
He's such a nice boy.
Yeah, this seems to happen a lot with these guys. But yeah, so eventually it becomes a really, really highly publicized thing towards the end when it's like a detective is like, okay, these 3 kids absolutely went missing while they were on the road with this guy. And the only reason he even got arrested was because people finally caught up to him for like insurance fraud, basically. And this dude goes on like a months long thing and eventually finds the kids' bodies. Like it's like that is the part where that stuff really picks up again and it becomes interesting. He's like the procedure of how this dude found, the detective that is, found bodies stashed away in like places where they never should have been found in a million years. Like the guy, it doesn't matter, I don't want to get into the details of it, but it was an enjoyable book. I liked the stuff about the fair more, but it was all enjoyable. And I'm not exactly sure what I will move on to next, but I'll probably move on to, over there is Jason Schreier's new book on the rise, fall, and future of Blizzard called Play Nice. I've only read the first, like, the prologue, which is, you know, like barely 4 pages.
But before you get into this, I want to bring up something else about Blizzard because I can't just a little footnote because because you said footnote and I looked over and you happen to not be wearing socks.
It is true, I'm not wearing socks at the moment.
And this is all because Blizzard's finally gone.
Oh yes! Oh yes!
They've finally gone off the deep end and have hit truly pathetic.
Yep.
I don't think I showed this to you, Joshua. I don't know if you know what we're talking about yet.
I think I know where this is going, though.
Do you know about?
So obvious.
I need to pull up.
This just seems so obvious. I mean, just send it in the Discord, dude.
Oh, I've got. Yeah, let me find the exact quote because it's like it's one of those. It's like
you sent it to me in DMs. I
it is. It's like reality is sometimes more entertaining than fiction.
It is a skin for
the anime girl.
I don't know which character.
Of course. Is it the transforming Kitsune character?
Yeah, whatever. It's the.
She's got like purple skin, but I guess that might be.
That's the skin. Kitsune. It's the Yatagarasu skin.
Yeah, the one that was added into.
All right,
yeah.
hold on. I've got it right here.
I did too.
I'm sending it to you in Discord, Joshua.
Shall I read it out loud for everybody?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead. So this is a video of a character's skin in Overwatch 2.
Released on October 16th.
And on Twitter, the tweet reads as follows.
Yeah, the official Overwatch Twitter tweet says Yatagarasu Kiriko has grippers with the foot emoji. Drop a foot emoji if you're hyped for Kiriko's new skin in season 13.
I'm looking away from that now.
And the video
it zooms in. Yeah, it focuses
on her feet
on
and like shows her feet shuffling around and a couple different angles on her feet.
So as you were talking about the book, I saw your feet. And I remembered that, and then you mentioned the word footnote, and I was just sitting here like, bottled
So,
up.
so now,
Grippers.
so
That's
now
what we need
it's
to know
not-
Gripper.
for footnotes is grippers.
so now they've gone beyond just like, okay, now a new character is gay or something, and now
They must
we're
have
just
run
gonna
out.
do some foot fetish shit.
They must have run out, and they're like, "Well, we gotta appeal to those people now."
It's just like a Halloween skin where she happens to be wearing like sandals.
Yeah,
And the social media team is like, how do we get clicks?
grippers. It's like it's the worst it's ever been for them. It's so embarrassing. It's so pathetic. It's like the first time I saw it, like I saw screenshots and I was like, people are just being funny because this is something that looks like they would do because they're just desperate. And then I saw it was real because of Pat.
So I'll talk about this book more after I've actually had a chance to read it.
Yes, of course.
The prologue is about BlizzCon in 23. Basically about people are showing up, having not been there in several years because of COVID, people hugging friends they haven't seen in years. And it's basically talking about, this is not a, the idea of a single company hosting a convention might seem bizarre. How many of you would pay tickets for Cigna Expo? But such is the power of Blizzard Entertainment and the games it has created. And so it's trying to get across to maybe the uninitiated reader how big of a deal these guys are. But then it starts talking about the troubles. It begins alluding to the troubles. It begins talking about the Xbox acquisition, the sexual misconduct scandal, boardroom drama, Bobby Kotick, et cetera, on and on and on. But it concludes with a really nice bit that feels like just like a perfect little it's not the last bit in here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This is actually the end of the second page. It's not even the end of the prologue. Perhaps due in part to Blizzard's diminished reputation, BlizzCon 2023 also marked the first time first for the company in one other ignominious way. It was the first time since 2005 when the convention started that tickets hadn't sold out.
Oof. No surprise there, but oof.
Sure, I mean, to be fair, that's also post-COVID fear. People just don't want to go to cons anymore. Even in 2023, some people are like, I don't want to be in a giant convention center surrounded by people anymore. Yeah. I just don't want to do it. But yeah, that was just like that's a nice little okay, this is the story. This is how we're what is this gonna be? Joshua responds on Discord to the link that says message reported for inappropriate baiting of Fanbase. I think you mean
I thought that was pretty clever.
I think you mean foot base, Joshua.
Oh my gosh. Or just regular based.
Low-hanging fruit, or should I say low-hanging feet?
God.
Listen, oh man, these jokes are pretty bad. I need to get a grip.
It's a good thing I don't know how to open up your window.
They're changing footnotes to grippers because they grip the end of the book. They grip the bottom.
They grip
of the
the reader.
The footnotes in an excellent historical book. Reading the footnotes can actually be quite gripping.
This is it's so pathetic. It's so gross, and I don't even mean that in like your fetish is gross. I just mean like
the post.
Yeah. The post, like this is
literally. That's all it is. Is that they're just doing it.
I think I've said how the mighty have fallen about 36 times over the last few years in reference to Blizzard. It just somehow keeps like getting more and more embarrassing for them.
There has to be some suit who's make something risque and make a new outfit that's risque so we can post about it, or come up with something more about a character so we can.
The outfit doesn't look more risque or anything else they do. It looks.
I know.
The skin itself looks fine. It's just.
I know. It's just the caption on this one, but I'm saying that it is a reoccurring trend that they're making decisions based on just how can we making
base decisions.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's like obviously the meme with this is like they release shit like this to distract from whatever controversy is happening. So everybody's like, "Oh man, what have they done this time?" I think it's for the book, honestly.
It could be because of this book.
It might be because of this book.
As I understand it, Play Nice does not contain any actually mind-blowing information. There's not much new reporting in here. It's mainly just kind of organizing it all and telling it linearly. And like there's some anecdotes in here that are new, but nothing that's gonna like blow anybody's mind.
Maybe it's not even to distract. Maybe they're trying to capitalize on the book. It's like people are talking about Blizzard again. Look at these feet.
There's also apparently a little bit of actual like exoneration in here of a couple of guys who were like erroneously cited in the initial suit from California who didn't actually do anything.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Couple of things like that. Something else that in this, I was listening to an interview. It's divided into 3 parts: Rise, Fall, and Future. Future isn't necessarily like rising again, just future. It doesn't necessarily suggest it's getting better. It's just
it's still around. And it's going to keep going.
We're in phase 3, and we don't really know what that is yet. But this may surprise some people. But in an interview, I heard Schreier talking about fall begins with World of Warcraft, which is debatably where they made the most money, but the reason is because at that point they became a 1-game studio.
That is true.
At that
I'm sorry, I thought you said fall as in like the season of fall, and if there was like always an update then. I don't know why my brain just stopped working for a second. But I would agree there. This
because it completely messes up their previous structure. Yeah. It messes up their team organization.
Yep.
Their entire their business model, their boardroom up at the top, they get so much bigger, so much faster, they have to hire so many more people, and they stop making games basically because they have to keep making WoW.
StarCraft Ghost is another really good example of that.
Yeah.
Of just like, okay, yeah, there's so many eggs in the WoW basket now, right? Because I think that was post WoW, was it?
Yeah, it was post WoW.
Let me make sure. Yeah.
I mean, it was certainly supposed to come out post WoW.
Well, yeah.
Well, yes, and it was we have to put like they outsourced all of it because the entire actual like the first party studio became the WoW studio, even though that's probably the part you outsource. And I think that's really telling that they just said no. Now this is the AAA Blizzard thing, right?
Yeah, there is apparently some stuff that I wouldn't say necessarily counts as scoops, but there is a lot of information in this book about canceled and unannounced games that we hadn't heard of previously.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh my god, Blizzard was... It's like, like somebody somewhere said, oh, we should make a game where like you have like a pizzeria, but like, but like there's aliens, and someone said no. I just made that one up, but my point is like there's apparently a bunch of stuff about canceled projects in here, but none of it is necessarily like big news. It's just stuff gets canceled, stuff gets pitched, and a team works on it for a month and pitches it, and they go no.
Yeah,
no, it sounds bad.
I think the thing that most like logical folks are taking away from it though is like in the years of the real dry spell of their games, it's like, oh, they canceled a lot of games during this time.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's just like, oh.
I think that one is the one that sticks out to me because they outsourced it.
Ghost, yeah.
It was supposed to be their big foray into the 6th generation console market, and they outsourced it, which is insanely telling, especially when it's something that's basically trying to be Splinter Cell, when Splinter Cell is at the height of its popularity.
But
it's very clear that was meant to be a big title for them.
Listen, though, okay, it's okay that they cancel all these things because at the end of the day, Blizzard is known for their quality, so they can't release a game if it's not good.
The 3 Bs.
The 3 Bs.
BioWare, Bethesda, and Blizzard. So on the subject of, you can't release a game unless it's good enough, Shawn Layden, back in the headlines, former PlayStation North America boss, back in the headlines being unbelievably base.
He just keeps being the smartest guy in the industry who isn't in the industry.
He's working for Tencent now, so I can't, I'm not thrilled.
God.
Never
mind.
It feels like I'm wondering if he's on the board at Tencent, is anybody even listening to him?
Right.
Like, surely you could go somewhere where you could actually do some damage.
Where you could have a voice.
Yeah, I'm like, this is like, you just ran a really, really successful business for a while, come be on the board, I don't know this for sure, but it might be one of those things where, it's like, you get paid, $500,000 to show up for, 10 meetings a year, right? Like who knows? But anyway, Layden every now and then shows up and is like, I think things are going wrong. There was a little while ago where he was basically saying budgets are getting out of control.
Yeah.
We really need to rethink what we're doing. Et cetera, et cetera. And he was at Gamescom Asia, and this is I'm referencing a Kotaku article here that like pulls quotes from a couple of different interviews that he did. But it's just the fastest thing I can pull up right now because I didn't prep a lot for this. You're looking at sequels. You're looking at copycats because the finance guys who draw the line say, well, if Fortnite made this much money in this amount of time, my Fortnite knockoff can make this in that amount of time. We're seeing a collapse of creativity in games today with studio consolidation and high cost of production. If we're going to just rely on blockbusters to get us through this, I think that's a death sentence. So that part is like, kind of broad, and even I would argue common sense in many ways, because really, regardless of your feeling on creativity or whatever, like these guys, it feels very like, look, maybe I'm just not smart enough, but I don't understand how these dudes at the top level can like honestly think, there's room in the market for more Fortnites. Yeah. And I guess it's because every now and then you get lucky and something like Helldivers 2 comes along and it does carve out a section in the market, but also Helldivers 2 is what we would call a AA game. It's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I would imagine, there's, getting it to run properly is expensive, which is why it doesn't run properly.
Yeah. What? What? No.
This is also good. Asked by VGC if the incremental improvements recently demonstrated by the controversial $700 PS5 Pro show the limits of new hardware. Quote, it has plateaued. We are at a stage of hardware development that I call only dogs can hear the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're playing your game with sunlight is coming through your window onto your TV, you're not seeing any ray tracing. It has to be super optimal. You have to have an 8K monitor in a dark room to see these things.
Yeah.
End quote. Quote, time for a real hard reset on the business model. A hard reset on what it is to be a video game, end quote. Back a while ago, so this is referencing a couple of other things that he's talked about, but I want to read this fast, where he talks about AA. Quote, it's a $250 billion global business, but the actual number of players doesn't grow at the same pace. So we're getting more money from the same people. You need to have more people playing games. How do you do that? We need more people making games. Talks a bit about empowering up-and-coming developers in markets like Indonesia and India. This article talks about, the success of Space Marine 2, the fact that it was less than half the budget of Doom Eternal, apparently. But I want another quote from him about, because Layden specifically talks about AA. He says the following: AA is gone. I think it's a threat to the ecosystem, if you will. So I'm looking at indie stuff. With the advent of technologies like the latest Unreal Engine or what Unity can give you, I think we can all say that the standard quality of video games is pretty high now compared to 10 years ago. So I haven't gone and listened to his full statements on all of this stuff yet because I've been too busy to play video games, much less spend too much time listening to people talk about them.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
But I like him whenever he shows up once every 6 months.
To just be like, hey, I'm not
when
I'm not in charge of PlayStation, so I can say my piece.
That's the thing, is when he shows up and says stuff like this, I'm like, did he get fired? Because he was saying this
literally.
stuff?
Well, did he get fired because he was too real?
Did he go, hey guys, maybe Spider-Man 2 shouldn't have a budget of $300 million or whatever?
He's just 100% Himalayan.
but I'm serious. Was he internally saying, no, we definitely shouldn't shut Japan's studio down. We need 2 more of those. And upper management said, what is he talking about?
But right now money.
He's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's losing his mind. Get him out of here. That
would make sense, honestly.
I don't know. I don't remember much about the terms of his departure. I don't remember if he said I'm retiring and now he's doing the 10-cent thing because it's cushy and easy, or if he was let go. I mean, we may not have even known.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like the fact that, because this was happening when he left. He oversaw the release of Last of Us Part 2. Mm-hmm. And he saw a lot of this other stuff on the horizon. And I'm sure there were already discussions about we need to close this down and this down and this down and focus on this. Because this strategy is, you don't just, the strategy we're observing now takes a number of years to get there. This dude was still there when Concord was in development.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're at the point where they're releasing these games take 5 years to get made. I have to imagine he was in there when the plan was being made and objected. Or I don't know. Maybe he was an architect of it, and then he left and went, "Oh God, what have I done?" Who knows? I don't want to like jump like this dude who I don't know anything about. I don't want to like dive in front of a bullet for him or whatever.
Yeah,
but it makes
but I
me,
get what
it
you're
makes
saying.
Me wonder.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense.
It makes me wonder what was going on behind closed doors.
I want to believe.
Speaking of super expensive video games, does anybody in the room remember how much Halo Infinite cost?
No.
0.
I don't because I
no,
0.
Joshua, to make, not to play.
Oh, to make? It wasn't like 400 million?
I'm pretty sure it was 500 million.
It was more than Concord?
Yes.
What?
They were recycling an engine from 2003. How is that possible?
Let's double check here. That's Starfield's budget. Fucking Google.
What?
Google, shut the hell up. Give me the AI overview.
Is the lifeblood of our industry.
Oh boy. Okay.
Man, I'm sure glad people are still talking about Starfield. And
did Halo Infinite really cost 500 million? Asks Reset Era. Are these budget rumors fake? I'd be shocked if it was true. Yikes if not. So I guess it's just rumored. I guess they haven't said that number. Let's see. Is, for people who don't know the situation with Halo Infinite, to save costs. So you know how this story, the story's going to end super well if it starts with $500 million.
Yeah.
To save costs, a significant percentage of 343 Industries staff were not full-time permanent employees.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have this, the freaking AI thing isn't telling us anything. There are no articles.
Uh-huh.
However, I think Halo 5's budget was 200 million.
Okay.
It was for dev costs. It was 160. This is just Wikipedia,
all right,
most expensive games, but there are sources.
Yeah, if there are budgets on Wikipedia, they usually have an actual source, and it's not like VG charts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So plus marketing, it's 206 for Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
These are unofficial numbers, but analyst estimations.
Gotcha. Okay.
And this is a USA Today article that's cited. So
got it. Okay.
Relatively reputable. I give it a B.
Give it a B for very good.
But if Halo 5 was developed for only it wasn't on PC, right? Was it on PC?
Halo 5 was just an Xbox One game, I'm pretty sure. At least
that's what I'm thinking. So if it's only one SKU and it's on past hardware, and it didn't have a major delay.
Joshua, you just looked, so you can't answer this question. Joey, what is Halo 5's subtitle? Gun to your head. What is the subtitle of Halo 5?
Who will you pick? No, that was the marketing.
No.
You used to be a hero, Master Chief.
I'm not talking that. I'm talking this. It is the name on the box is Halo 5 :
I didn't know there was something beyond Halo 5. Halo.
It's a terrible name.
5, the one with the forgettable protagonist.
Halo 5 Guardians.
Are you talking about
Guardians?
Guardians.
Yeah. Guardians.
The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But the Guardians aren't brought up in it, The Guardians from Halo in multiplayer when you go out of bounds and you're killed by the Guardians.
I think that the idea is that they're guardians of humanity.
Yeah, who cares? They whatever.
I think Locke is a guardian of humanity, but also Master Chief is
Locke
a guardian
John
of
Master
humanity.
Chief.
Yeah, he's a guardian of his AI.
He has a crew of 4 other Spartans in that game.
Yeah.
And they're buddy. Do they are those characters from a book or something?
Yes.
Which one?
Yes. Apparently, no. I actually know a bit about this.
Okay.
Which team? Locke's team or Master Chief's
Master
team?
Chief's team, because he's got a bunch of diehards with him that
No, they're from stuff.
Okay.
They're from stuff. So apparently it was a big controversy because the first mission where you play as the rando Master Chief friends, right? Apparently the elite they take out at the end of the first mission. That's the boss fight. He was apparently the big villain of the Spartan Ops stuff from 4 that they seem to be setting up as the main villain for 5, or at least a main supporting villain, and was the main villain of multiple books.
And you just glass him. You just ice him immediately. Awesome.
Yes. So all the diehards immediately hated 5 because it started with that. They were like, "Why the hell did I buy those books then?"
No, but I don't know any of their names other than I know there's one named Kelly because she's in a number of the books. She's in some of that anime compilation movie.
She's in it.
She's in that. Yeah,
and you're talking about Legends, right?
Legends. Yeah, she's in like one of the things. It's just like one of the few ones in that's actually about Master Chief. She's like part of the team. Because a lot of that stuff's non-canon. Like, obviously, the whole thing about the Flash cloned kids and Halsey being, the worst. Like, those the characters in that aren't canon, even though, like, what happens is, like, this is what happened in lore.
Yes.
But anyway, the reason I brought... So for those who don't know, part of the reason that Halo Infinite took so long to make and the budget ballooned to possibly $500 million, allegedly, is because 343 Industries doesn't have, and I promise I did bring this up for a reason. There's a gaming news item that you may not even know about.
I think I just looked at something up, so I think we may be on the same page.
We'll 343 Industries to cut costs did not have long-term employees. I mean, it did have some, but it relied very heavily on like short-term workers, people who came in on like a 1-year contract.
I was gonna say, so they come in, they take half a year to learn what to do, and then take the last half of the year applying what they've learned, and then they leave.
Because they're not using Unreal. They're using, Josh, what engine did that stupid game use?
I mean, it's an updated version of the Blam engine. They called it the Slipspace engine to make it sound like they had a new engine, but it was just an updated one of the one that they created for Halo 1.
It sounds like you're making this up, but I believe you.
No, this is real. I remember the trailer saying powered by Slipspace.
Because then half the team, when they were supposed to be doing season updates later on, they didn't know how to use Blam because they brought in contractors. Yeah. So they spent all their time like mocking up, like, here's what we could make Halo look like in Unreal 5. That's what staff was doing. That's why the seasons kept getting delayed, was because the staff didn't know how to use the engine, so they just spent their time doing shit in Unreal 5 for fun.
This is the problem, is that they have an internal engine that nobody uses except for them. And so they'd have people come in who don't know how to use the engine. Yeah. They have Unity or Unreal background. They learn how to use the engine. Because it's an internal engine, they keep changing it. So they're making changes to the code and modifications to it for the last 6 months while they're working there. Then they're gone, and some other guy has to come in and figure out what the heck is going on.
Yep. Real good, real smart, real cool.
So my general impression is that some people thought Halo 4 was okay. Some people thought Halo 4 was fine.
Yeah.
Because people are dumb. That's
Nobody likes Halo 5.
Yeah.
Some people liked Halo Infinite, felt like the story is terrible, but it plays well.
Yeah, everybody said it played good.
And the multiplayer.
The multiplayer was really fun, but the suite was so undercooked that it lost its entire player base, including me, because they didn't add anything.
If you got into a match, it was fun to play, but all of the supporting infrastructure of it was terrible. Yep. Let's throw in a couple of anecdotes about how bad Halo Infinite's multiplayer was. What was the thing about melting people's RAM because it was loading a JPEG 50,000 times?
Oh yeah, so yes, the season banner art, when you booted up the game, there was some error that caused it to load basically every frame. So when you were booting it up, it would load approximately 2,000 to 3,000 versions of it while it was loading. And also the menu took more GPU power than the game itself. Like, there's reports of people's graphics cards melting on the main menu.
Huge. I gotta get into this game fast.
Yes, and
this quick match isn't quick enough.
And then there was the problem where they blamed a lot of things on the UI. So basically,
I was about to say, Joey just said this quick match isn't quick enough. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, no. So I should reference. A lot of this is from a video by a YouTuber called Big Boss that did like a very long video about a lot of the problems with Infinite.
Okay.
Yeah. The Big Boss is in a big British lad, not a super soldier.
I think I may watch this video sometime. I'm gonna find it.
Yes, it's quite good. He has one on 343 pre Infinite, and then one on Infinite itself, and together they're kind of companion pieces.
So Joey, you just said oh man, I gotta get in. I'm not getting in a quick match quick enough.
Yeah.
So number one, you're not getting it quick enough because
part of the reason that the main menu was so shit apparently and was taking so much of your RAM was because apparently the UI was like the most over-engineered thing in the entire game. And was like it was like almost breaking the engine.
Probably because there were 5 years worth of different UI designers coming in and writing new code.
And so it was apparently nearly breaking the engine. And so basically people realized, so part of the problem, right, was that there was the multiplayer beta, and then they released the full game, and there wasn't actually anything more in the beta. So during the beta, people noticed like, oh, it's kind of weird that there's no like Team Slayer playlist,
which is just your basic.
Like,
that's your basic team deathmatch mode.
There's no that. There's no CTF. There's no oddball. Like you can't pick. You just have to pick like small team. You know, like basically grab bag
variety.
Right?
You know, so you pick it.
So
in, like,
you pick and it can be CTF. It can be oddball. It can be I don't know if it can be FFA because it's team based, so it's not FFA. It's Slayer and I'm missing one. Oh, Domination.
Okay.
So you have those 4 in rotation, right?
Sure.
There's no option to pick one of those.
So if you want to play Slayer, you're gonna have to play a couple matches of oddball. You just have to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to play 3 matches of oddball in a row. It's 25%
oddball
chance.
Being in there with Slayer is so crazy to me because oddball was always in the category you
could call it an oddball mode.
Because in Halo,
I like oddball, and it was infuriating because I like every now and then, I just want to play Slayer or Domination, dude.
Well, that's the thing is like back in the day with Halo, like if taking away like we're talking Halo 3, Halo Reach, we're talking just casual mode, not ranked. But it's like in casual mode, there was basically 3 temperatures of it. There was this is not ranked, but this is like ranked practice where it's like you're gonna start with like the not goofy guns, you're gonna have like the DMR or whatever, and you're gonna have the maps are not gonna have a bunch of goofy shit in them. It's not gonna have a bunch of rockets and
balanced.
stuff.
It's balanced for lean.
Yeah, but then you had what most people played, like the regular like Slayer stuff that was just what you think of as Halo. You start out with an assault rifle or a battle rifle or a DMR, and there's swords and shotguns and rocket launchers and things like that. And then you had the things like oddball or zombies or whatever was like the flavor of the week. That was like hey everybody, this is just a chill game mode. This is splazers, Spartan lasers and rockets, stuff like that. So having Slayer and oddball being on rotation in the same thing is so nutty to me.
So another thing that something he doesn't really go into in the video, but like I just listed out those 4 game modes, right?
Yeah.
That was the only small team. Those were the only 4 small team game modes.
Okay.
I think SWAT. No, SWAT was in there too. So 5. That was it.
I have a chip on my shoulder about being forced to play SWAT back in the day and sucking at it. I was
good at it. I was a killer.
I was okay with SWAT in Halo 3, but then because it was a 3 burst rifle, but then in Reach it was a DMR and it was 1 shot and I was bad at it, and I was like, guys, let me play a game that I'm good at.
So Joshua,
they wouldn't let me.
Explain why the playlists worked this way.
So apparently what happened was, basically everyone, the entire fandom is like, hey, could we get like some more playlists, please? Now that the game is out of beta, like
please.
We kind of assumed it was just for the beta that you wanted people to test out everything. Can you add the playlists? And they put out an official statement that's like, hey guys, we know that people, we've been hearing the feedback about how you want more playlists. We hear you, but we're having some issues with feasibility right now. We have UI limitations that make us unable to add an additional playlist at this time. Pause for effect. That's real.
5-6 years.
That was an official
5-6 years in development. The 6th, 7th iteration of a franchise that has not had these problems.
Yes.
8th if you include ODST, but that's probably not fair.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have multiplayer. It doesn't have real multiplayer. It had Firefight.
I thought it had 3 sweet.
It's still only 7.
Halo ODST came with a disc that was it was Halo 3's multiplayer with all maps.
Right, I remember. Yeah, okay, that's right. That's correct.
It's still only technically Halo 7 if you include ODST, by the way.
Okay.
Well, seriously? 1, 2, 3.
Yes. 4, 5.
Yeah,
ODST. Oh no, Reach. What am I thinking? Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
I cannot believe I wasn't thinking of Reach since it's like my favorite one.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
everyone in the comments can be mad at that.
That's a based take.
Nobody in the comments is going to say anything because none of our fans like Halo, and they're all actively skipping this segment and unsubscribing.
You're so right. How could I forget?
They're all unsubscribing right now because they're like, I just want them to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Hey,
we could just talk about Kingdom Hearts, please.
Go back get in your time machine and go back in time to when Halo Reach dropped and watch the Ego Raptor video and then play Halo Reach. It'll change your life.
So good.
Do it in that order. But anyway, yeah.
Don't use the time machine to stop 9/11. This is more important.
I was thinking. I was in the shower. And I was thinking of what's my joke on that? Of like, I have a time machine. What's the top of the to-do list? And it's like, go see Tron Legacy in IMAX 3D again.
Again.
That was.
It's not even that you missed it. You were just like, that was really good.
It was so good, man. That was still the best movie going experience either of us have ever had.
Yeah, that was like it is shocking how much because I mean I think that movie's good, but like part of my insistence on when I showed it to you was like we're watching this in surround sound and like doing nothing else and not pausing the movie is like that.
It is still the only good use of 3D I've ever seen.
The only time I've ever seen a movie in theaters with 3D glasses on and gone not just that because every other time it's been like. That made it worse.
Yeah.
This was the only time that I was like, that was better than sex. That was crazy.
That's the thing that was always crazy to me about 3D is it's like you got to pay more for 3D and every time
it makes the movie
it's worse. It's like here's some shitty blue and red glasses that give you a headache.
Hey Joe, you know that Martin Scorsese movie Hugo we watched a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
That was all the posters were like see it in 3D.
I know, you were telling me.
Because the train crash.
Yeah, I guess it was to watch the train crash in 3D. I don't know. To see the part where the part where the doll gets thrown up in the air and it's like
whoa. Okay, but enough about that. We're talking Halo.
We're talking Halo.
Yeah, we're talking real video
games. We're talking Halo.
Not that Japanese crap.
We're talking Halo. We're talking Halo Studios.
Yes.
Because a week or two ago, it wasn't even like a press release. It wasn't a news item. It wasn't an Xbox presentation. At the cushiest possible platform they could figure out, which was a Halo esports event, they played a video saying, we think of Halo as having been in, there's been two eras of Halo. The Bungie era and the bad era. And now, we're moving Halo to Unreal Engine, and we're rethinking the series, and we're moving into its third era. And so because of that, we have a new team name going forward, Halo Studios. And what's important to note about this...
We've only lost 3 directors or 3 studio heads in the last 2 years.
Don't worry about
we changed the name, boys.
That's the thing, is that it's still 343.
Yeah.
It's the same offices, it's the same staff. They've changed their name because that's how bad their brand value is now.
Yeah, and it's not, once again, it's like they didn't even announce anything. It wasn't...
They didn't announce
Halo
a new
Studios
game.
is happy to present
they announced we're using
Halo
Unreal
ODST 2.
As someone who has spent a lot of time complaining about sometimes developers get into too much esoteric detail about their products and it actually hurts their marketing. I want to note they announced 2 things. We're changing the name of the studio and we're using Unreal now.
Yeah.
That is because what Joshua and I have just been talking about is so well known in the fan base that saying, don't worry guys, we're not going to do that anymore is the best news that they can think of to say out loud.
It's because they laid off so many people after Infinite started flopping and exploding live on stream that it was people talked. Dudes were talking about how bad it was behind the scenes, and it was every single snippet that the fan base got, it somehow got worse.
That's the thing is I'm always talking about how I don't give a shit about Call of Duty anymore and how it fell off. But it's Call of Duty has not run into this type of thing in its entire lifetime.
Because it's still good to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still good to shoot the gun.
And that's what it boils down to at the end of the day.
It still feels better than anything else
That's
on the
why
market.
it still makes a shit zillion dollars. That's why every dude that would push a gamer into a locker still plays it, is because it feels good to shoot the gun.
I want to point out specifically, those guys dialed that in with basically COD 2.
Yeah.
Refined it a little bit with COD 4, and then it stayed the same forever.
That's it.
Yeah.
They redid it for the Modern Warfare reboot. It basically, they totally redid it. I don't know, better or worse, but it's still the best thing on the market.
Yeah.
I think it's actually meaningfully distinct. It feels much shakier and harder to control.
Yes.
I wouldn't exactly call it realistic.
But it's not as much of laser pointers.
You do have to do way more to compensate for like recoil.
I remember I used to play COD 4, mainly the remaster, and it was just you'd grab like the M4 with a silencer and stopping power, and you were basically unkillable because it was like the M4 did not move when you shot it like at all, and you had a silencer and you put on cold-blooded and stopping power, so no one could see you on the map, and it was just like you were completely unkillable, and stopping power made it where you could kill people in like 2 seconds. But it was so broken, but it was great.
But like the point is, they decided for whatever reason they didn't need to do that, but they decided, we're gonna completely redo how guns work. And it's still the best.
Yeah, because I guess at the end of the day, they knew that somebody over there at least knows that guns feeling good is important.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is also they got like 5 teams now, so like I'm sure when they redid everything, that was like 3-4 years of work.
Yeah,
in complete fairness. But anyway, sorry, the Halo Studios thing, I wasn't even thinking about it until I started talking about AA and AAA and that Layden quote, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember the flagship title of the Blizzard and the winningness of Xbox.
Yeah.
And how awesome they're doing. What was the thing that was like the head of Rare is promoted to head of Xbox Games Studios?
Yeah,
man who hasn't shipped a game in 6 years promoed to head of not shipping games. That was that was the at Josh Xanadu? No, that's not
Xanadu.
No, it's not Xanadu.
Ishtar?
Xana from Code Lyoko.
1, 2,
guys,
2,
we've got to stop Xana.
Rare boss Craig Duncan has been promoted to the head of Xbox Studios. What did you just say about stopping somebody? What are you referencing now?
Code Lyoko.
Oh, okay.
So we got to stop Xana.
Okay, got it. Dodged all of that. So much stuff I dodged as a child, and it was
here we are going far to save all that we love. Jacob.
So Joey, other than rewatching Code Lyoko recently, what have you been up to?
I was doing a Code Lyoko rewatch a few months ago with a friend.
Why?
It's even worse. It's even worse than what you're thinking, because what we did is whenever an event was happening in our Stupid Fate mobile game and we had to get caught up, we'd meet up and watch Code Lyoko and grind on our phones.
Excellent.
But
I'm not going to do it next to my mic. I want to do like a seal clapping. With my arms fully outstretched at this news.
Yeah, but no, that was months ago, and it's my fault. We got to get back to it. There's an event going on in Fate right now. Maybe I can get them to lock in this week sometime.
This right here, folks, is a demonstration of why Kingdom Hearts Missing Link will fail.
What?
It's everybody, all the mobile phone chuds are already dug into whichever trench they picked 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, this one has GPS technology, Jacob.
No, Joshua, it's a GPS action RPG. You got to say it right.
Don't worry, everybody. He did eventually get to the Kingdom Hearts,
you can
just
travel
like he promised.
You can travel the world without stepping outside, Joshua.
Yeah.
Has there been any more news about that?
No.
Good.
The Kingdom Hearts fan is on suicide watch.
Same as it ever was.
No, dude, oh, holy shit, guys! A line of code changed on the Missing Link website. News soon. No, the dead app, Union Cross and Dark Road,
whatever.
It got an update recently.
The dead one?
Oh, no.
The dead one, yeah.
Okay.
It just got like, hey, a patch downloaded for this. It could have been stability. It could have been security. Who the hell knows?
But news soon.
Tomorrow, any day now.
That's really funny to me because when this stuff happens, everybody immediately digs into the files and immediately knows what it's all about. So it's like if that was true, there would be an indication.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a mobile game. It doesn't matter if you're going to get arrested for it. It's like anytime there's even a slight thing, there's always some rat in the fan base that's digging through the files.
But Joshua's joke just a moment ago, which you spoke over, was Kingdom Hearts fans can't code because they spent too much time playing coded.
Okay.
This is not fair, because there's actually some Kingdom Hearts fans working very hard on retrieving long since deleted
and mods making KH3 fun. Yeah.
Also, I was gonna say tons of mods. The modding scene for KH3 is super active. You've got a lot of people.
Notice that I said that I didn't say making KH3 more fun. I meant what I said.
KH3's fun.
KH3's fun. We had this argument on the final Alan Wake stream.
It's more fun than FF16. Congratulations. So So his jumping out of a two-story window.
That's
for the
not
rush 'cause I knew it
true.
won't kill
That's
me.
not true. It's fun though. It just has a lot of problems. We're not having that
Feel
discussion
free to
today,
bleep
though.
that out if it's too bad.
No, it's fine. You're
Go watch if
we're
you
just
want.
joking around. You
If
don't
you
mean
I'm
if
sitting
you
at
want a
it,
better
but
explanation
I'm sitting
of
at a
this, go watch our
two-story
final
window. That was
Alan
the
Wake
first thing I
stream.
thought about. I'm sorry.
it's fine. But one of you two's got to decide when the other one's talking to stop talking occasionally.
I'm sorry.
Never.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Ever.
No,
we're just emulating Halo lobbies circa 2011.
But God, we got. So I was gonna say something like real, and then you started talking
Something
about Code
real.
Lyoko and mobile phone games, and then I started talking about Kingdom Hearts because I was gonna say you have actually had some really interesting archival efforts in that community recently. They've gone and grabbed like a bunch of crappy Flash games off of like websites from across 20 years.
Yep.
And people have gone and gotten. They're trying to get the original cell phone version of Coded running on other hardware.
Oh, that's cool.
There has been, as I understand it, further work on a couple of other like mobile, like not even Kingdom Hearts VCast, because I think that's been fully archived for a while. But Japanese phone exclusive, just like Kingdom Hearts Bejeweled clones or whatever from circa 2003 or some crap. But anyway, God, what was I talking about before? I was going to say something about.
We've gone very far down the KH rabbit hole because
you were
joking about our viewership dropping because we weren't just talking about Kingdom Hearts.
What'd you
I
remember?
remember what I was going to say. On the subject of Kingdom Hearts 3 is fun, but it has a lot of problems.
Yes.
I've complained before about how I feel like that game should have cut like a world or two. Yeah. Not because, and this some people may assume, oh, he's talking about how Frozen World sucks. And that's not what I mean.
Well, it is so true.
But that's not my point. I just mean development resources, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to have that Pirates world, give it like 5 more islands, something interesting to find, and make the ship combat good.
Yes.
And so that thought happened in my brain in like 2 seconds. Because and then I was like, oh yeah, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Has anybody seen the recent gameplay trailer for Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii?
No.
I wouldn't blame you because it's at an Xbox event.
Okay.
So the reveal trailer showed us our standard Yakuza combat and a lot of cutscenes.
Yes.
This most recent trailer showed ship combat, and it has full blown. I mean, I think we could guess, and I think they said in an interview.
But sure.
But they showed full blown, Black Flag ship combat.
Okay.
Except also, there's zany, wacky bullshit, like how Kingdom Hearts lets you shoot your ship up in the air and crash on people, because it shows when they go to Mad Atlantis, which is a secret island where all of the pirates and smugglers and thieves hang out.
In modern-day Hawaii.
At Mad Atlantis, among the many other Yakuza minigames you can play, there is also the Colosseum.
Okay.
Which is a flooded Colosseum.
Yeah.
Of boat combat.
Good.
And you see a bit where like Majima's boat is drifting around another boat to avoid a flamethrower wall that it is shooting out at Majima's boat.
That's
so
peak. Good.
And I'm like, number one, thinking about Black Flag. I'm thinking about Skull and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones eat your heart out.
Thinking about Skull and Bones being a piece of crap, and this is going to be what anybody ever actually wanted about that out of that experience, and it's not going to be a stupid games as service game. You'll play it, it's going to be like 20 hours long, and you'll be done. Some people say that's lowballing it for a Yakuza
minigame.
But this is one of the side entries. Like this is going to be like the Man Who Erased His Name scale game. It's not going to be as big as the other ones. This is going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. I'm definitely going to buy it. It's going to be the first Yakuza game I've actually played.
It's going to be. Pat's predicting that it's going to be like the first entry point for new players in like ages. So
yeah, I started Zero way back in the day, like back before I had my PC. Mm-hmm. But I never got super far in. I need to go back and play it because I was having a good time with it. I just I never went and
sure. It's a lot.
I've watched Pat play through 7, and I
still haven't
0.
even started Metaphor, and that's next on the list. So I'm screwed.
I almost don't want to start. Yeah, we talk about the Metaphor demo. You haven't played the Metaphor demo.
Not yet.
Joshua hasn't played the Metaphor demo.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I don't really have a lot to say about the Metaphor demo other than it's good and it's ridiculous how long it is.
Yeah.
Because it's got the life sim elements of a Persona game in it, where basically the game, the demo starts from minute 1 because you carry your save data over to the final game from it, and you go through I don't know. For me, it was. I mean, I could check. I could literally pull up my save file on the demo and check. But I'm gonna say it was at least like 7 hours of gameplay, and then it gets you to the part where it's like, hey, you got 2 weeks to complete this dungeon, before a deadline, right? And then it says, hey, I hope it doesn't say like a text came up, and I assumed it was about to say this concludes the demo. Instead, it says, we hope you've been enjoying the demo so far. You can now play 3 days of in-game time and do whatever activities you want. Just know that if you do the main dungeon, it will cut off at a certain point. And there's a side quest that sends you to an optional dungeon, and you can go into the real dungeon, and there's a bunch of other side quests. It seems like there's no social links actively available. But you can play you can play 3 days of normal gameplay.
Yeah.
So people are already, I'm sure, like optimizing it, like routing it, like this is the best thing to do with the 3 days of your time. And, and the game has like, once you get to a high enough level, you can kill enemies in the map with a little bit of like real time Muso combat, basically. So I'm sure people are like, okay, well, I've gotten a high enough level, I can just kill all these enemies with Muso combat, with just normal action combat. So I'm just gonna do that until I'm level 50.
Yeah, I'm certain we got people that are maxing.
I mean, I say that,
out.
I say are doing that. The game is out now, so that phase of people's lives is past at this point. But,
also, real quick, because I in the back of my brain, I was like, you were talking about Yakuza Pirate, and I was like, he's gonna say there's something about this, but you didn't say anything, so I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, they did kind of throw some shade at Ubisoft.
I missed this. I saw them talking about their continued like.
They just one post like for the pirate game. You just see quadruple A ... Quit your yawning and come play a modern day pirate game on February 21st.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Is that
that's real?
That's like the Sega Twitter account or something.
That is the Like a Dragon Studio, the RGG official Twitter.
Oh yes, I didn't think they would do that.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
I'll send it to you so you can have it.
Hell yes.
Dude,
quit your yawning.
This 6 months of gaming is going to be so nice. Like, in terms of just everything releasing, none of it's from studios that I hate. It's great.
Oh, well, Joshua, what about Assassin's Creed Shadows?
You mean Mirage?
No, Mirage was like 3 years ago. Shadows is the Japan one.
Is it?
Oh.
I thought Shadows already released. I thought it was a different one.
I thought it was Mirage.
No, Mirage was they went back to Baghdad.
I thought that was the Greece one.
No, the Greece one is Odyssey.
Greece was Odyssey.
No, what was the Egypt one? That was Origins.
The Egypt one was Origins. I couldn't tell if you were doing a bit for a second there.
It's only half a bit.
How many of these can I do, I wonder? Because it was okay. So starting 1 and 2, then it's Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, Black Flag, which is Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag.
No,
then they dropped the number.
Black Flag.
Sorry,
no, you said 3 and then Black Flag. I didn't realize there was a comma there. I thought you were saying 3 was Black Flag. No. I'm like, no.
After 4, I think they dropped the numbering. The next one was Unity, and it did have like a V in the logo, but it was just called Assassin's Creed.
I could have
Unity.
sworn there was one between Black Flag.
There was a Vita game called Liberation.
Okay.
And then also there was at some point a spin-off reusing all of the Black Flag pirate stuff called. I've heard it's really good, but I've never. It's like, 'cause it's short, but it's got all the pirate
what's it
combat.
Called? You cut out.
I'm trying to remember. I didn't cut out. I couldn't remember the name of it. It's like set in the Arctic Circle.
Interesting.
But it's like a shorter one. It's 10 hours or so, but it's using all the Black Flag systems.
It sounds interesting, and I've never heard of it.
Nobody's ever heard of it, but apparently it's
Legacy.
Nobody's ever
what was
heard
it
of it.
on? Was
and
it
apparently,
mobile or?
It's a console game. It was a full-blown console game. It released on PS3 and PS4, I think.
What?
Like it was like a year after Black Flag or something. Let me check.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this thing.
I keep thinking, like, 'cause again, I've heard good things about it from. No, I'm not talking about Skull and Bones when I say Black Flag spin-off.
Was it Rogue?
Oh my
god.
Rogue,
that was the name of it. Assassin's Creed Rogue.
I have heard of Rogue. I didn't realize it was a Black Flag.
I thought Assassin's Creed Rogue was the China one.
No.
Yes, no, I knew it wasn't the China one.
Because there wasn't a China one. There were 3
Was there not?
No, there was a trilogy of like Xbox Live Arcade
Side-scrolling,
games.
yes.
One of them was set in China, one of them was set in India, and one of them was set in Russia.
That's what I was talking about.
I don't remember what those are named. But yeah, Rogue was released originally. It was released When did it release? It released in November 2014. It released on PS3 and Xbox 360, and it was set between Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, but it had lore ties to Unity, which released the same day as Rogue. And Unity was a PS4, Xbox One exclusive. So this was the olive branch to we're still releasing. The B team made a product for the last-gen consoles.
Okay.
Gotcha. Remember when they did that?
Yeah, I remember when they did that.
Remember when God of War 3 came out like after the PS3 was out?
You mean God of War 2, but yes.
2, that's what I meant, my bad, sorry.
God of War's still doing that. Ragnarok was available on PS4.
Also freaking, what's it called? FF12, even, you could argue.
Yeah, but FF12 I wouldn't say was like an action of good faith.
I'm just saying that in today's day and age, Square would have delayed that shit by 3 years to move it over to PS3 and up the graphics and have to redo every asset because it didn't fulfill their standard.
You are correct. All right, I've pulled up the list of Assassin's Creed games. I'm going to scroll slowly and see if I've missed any so far.
Okay.
As someone who's only ever played I think the most I've ever played of an Assassin's Creed game was I played like 8 hours of 2.
I played 2. I played Brotherhood. I played Revelation. Wait, what was the one after Brotherhood?
Revelations.
It was Revelations?
Yeah, that was the Ezio trilogy.
Okay,
it was 2 Brotherhood and Revelations.
I played 2 Brotherhood Revelations, and I played.
And those were, by the way, every year. Bam, 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 bam.
Yes.
Those were annual. 2 Brotherhood Revelations were 2009, 2010, 2011.
And then
3 was 2012.
Yeah,
back in the old days.
Yeah,
10 years ago.
I really was I had fun with those, but I really didn't have a stomach for Ubisoft, not redundancy, but you know what I mean back then. Because I realized with Revelations, that was when I was like, man, this is getting kind of old. Even though people really like that one, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have as much of a problem with the Ubisoft formula if you're not playing them every year.
Yeah.
I think this is a weird thing about Ubisoft games.
I still want to go and play a few of the Assassin's Creed games, just grab because I barely played 2, and that's the only one I played.
The last one I played was Black Flag.
I want to grab 4. I want to maybe grab either Origins or Odyssey. Probably Origins because Odyssey's the one with microtransactions. But a couple.
I think Origins also has. I think everything from there onwards is microtransaction.
I don't know because I think Odyssey was after Origins,
I don't know.
And Donkey brought up the level skips a ton in his Odyssey review, but didn't even mention them.
I think the level skip stuff started with Odyssey, but I think there was still a lot.
That's all I care about.
I think there was still a lot of Ubi bucks in Origins.
Who cares about Origins? Who cares about the microtransactions if they're not breaking the single player experience? That's all I care about.
I guess the main thing is that is the point where it starts caring about attack numbers and being a light RPG instead of a stealth action game where you hit a button and a guy dies.
Yeah.
Fair.
But anyway, so let's see. Okay, so Liberations actually isn't on this list yet, so I guess I was too fast on Liberations, or rather, just Assassin's Creed Liberation, which is a Vita spin-off set in New Orleans.
Okay.
Let's say so Unity and Rogue in 2014. Next is what? It wasn't Syndicate yet. It might be.
It was. What's the one? The freaking French Revolution one.
That's Unity.
Oh, it was Unity. My bad.
I think there was a bit of a gap after that because they were in next gen now, and Unity wasn't received super well at launch.
Yeah, Unity had game-breaking bugs.
Yeah, apparently that one is fairly well regarded now among series fans. But it had a very poor reception at launch, which hurt them for a little while, and that was 10 years ago. And now we're back around to the same thing with Star Wars Outlaws, which I'll get to in a minute.
Yep.
God, what's next? This is where I start to lose the plot a little bit. Okay, I'm 2014. The Vita's out. I'm going to say next on this list is Liberation.
Where's Watchdog on the list?
Okay, it was Syndicate. Syndicate was next. I should have trusted my gut.
Should have done it.
And it was only 1 year later. I thought there was more of a gap between that. Okay, so what's after Syndicate? Was that Origin? Was that when they went back in time?
Yeah, Origins was 2017.
Origins was 2017. That's correct. Okay, after Origin, Odyssey, right?
It's Odyssey. Yep.
Yes,
and
2018.
Then Mirage?
No. After Odyssey.
Oh no, Mirage was
the Viking one. It was Valhalla.
Valhalla. Yeah, I think Valhalla.
Valhalla was next
before Mirage. So I think Valhalla.
I remember seeing that one in 2020 or 2021.
So next game
I saw people playing
I've scrolled very slowly. I see 2020 Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's correct. This is like a game show now.
I'm actually pretty good with the recent ones.
This conversation is actively making me want to play the games even less.
Yep, correct.
Every now and then I'm like, I could play like Origins, maybe. Nah, not right now. I couldn't.
Next up is I'm gonna say Assassin's Creed.
That's the one where he kills people with a feather, which is just super badass.
I think the next one is Origins. No, Mirage. Damn it.
No, we already said
I meant Mirage.
2017.
You're right. I was picturing Baghdad in my head. I meant Mirage. I just said the wrong name.
Yeah, that was next.
So this was originally a test of my ability to name the games. So I guess that's a failure. And then I don't think there's been one since then. Next will be Shadows. Okay, spin-offs. Spin-offs. Altair's Chronicles on the iOS and Android. And the Nintendo DS.
Wow.
Assassin's Creed Bloodlines on the PlayStation Portable, which is another Altair game. Altair being the original protagonist who nobody likes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What sorcery is this, woman?
Assassin's Creed.
One second. I'm gonna throw this in the chat so that Jacob can add it in later. It's one of my favorite memes.
Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery is a Nintendo DS Ezio game. A side-scrolling action-adventure game for the Nintendo DS. Ubisoft is like the top Nintendo DS game developer other than Nintendo. Probably more than Nintendo. Ubisoft was putting out a Nintendo DS game every other week for a period of time there. Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery. It was also on iOS. Okay. Assassin's Creed Project Legacy for browser. Okay, this might be a little too complete of a list here. Assassin's Creed Multiplayer Rearmed for iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch.
That's good.
Assassin's Creed Liberation for Vita. Assassin's Creed Pirates for iOS and Android.
Yarr.
Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry. This is another Black Flag spinoff. I think this also had boat combat in it. Why wasn't this listed as core? Oh, because it's an expansion pack.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an expansion. It's an expansion pack. Originally released as an expansion pack. Standalone version does not require base game of Black Flag. Available on PlayStation 3 for Microsoft Windows as of February 2014. Okay, so it was an expansion pack, but then it got a standalone release later. Assassin's Creed Memories for iOS. Okay, all right, here we go. So I was wondering if they had good names, the side-scrolling games we were thinking of. They had really lame names. Just Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, Chronicles India, Chronicles Russia. Very lame.
Chronicles Dark Brotherhood.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I love the music in that game.
I seem to recall that, like, the Russia game was, like, the most modern setting of any of them at the time, because I'm pretty sure it was
Wasn't it, like, it was Bolshevik Revolution?
I'm pretty sure. Let me double-check. Aftermath of the October Revolution.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
play that clip I just sent you, because I don't think Joey's seen that.
I would see your eyes before you die.
I sense you expected someone else.
What sorcery is this?
A woman. That's a woman, Altair, says the text.
What a hero, that Altair.
What sorcery is this?
The India
delivery is so bad.
Just
remember isn't that Nolan North?
No, that's not Nolan North. Nolan North voices Desmond in the modern day.
Yeah.
Josh, help me on pronunciation here. The Sikh Empire in India.
Sikh.
The Sikh?
As in, yes, Sikh, as in Ansem Seeker of Darkness.
I'm going to cut that out. The Assassin's Creed Chronicles India is the Anglo... is it Sikh Wars, Joshua?
Yes,
okay.
Anglo-Sikh Wars.
Anglo-Sikh Wars between the Sikh Empire and the East India Trading Company. Follows a protagonist from an Assassin's Creed graphic novel. And the China one is...
China will go larger. I'm going to guess Taiping Rebellion.
16th century.
Damn it. That's going to be like...
She is so the other two list a clear historical event, and this one doesn't. And like right up top, it says
no. That's the fall of the Ming Empire, though, in terms of time frame. I think
during the Ming Empire,
never mind.
1526.
Yeah. Okay, 1500s. I thought you said 16. Yeah,
sorry,
I
said 16.
During the Ming Empire.
I said 16th century.
Yeah, my bad.
1526. Jun returns to China after a long journey to Europe, where she It was where she visited the retired assassin master Ezio and learned the key to liberating her people. Her mission,
like killing a lot of people.
Her mission is to eliminate the 8 Tigers, a group of influential Templars who rule China from the shadows with the Empire as their puppet. Oh, so they just made a bunch of shit up.
Sick.
Yeah, we can't use actual Chinese history. That's too hard.
That's why that game's good. They just made it up.
They just made it up. They didn't let the wokes get in the way.
God, are we gonna talk about that? I don't really want to talk about that.
I don't want to get into the stupid discussion about shadows because, like, on one hand, I'm like, yes, Yasuke's a real guy. These are things that he's did, and it makes sense for an Assassin's Creed game to be like, here is a guy who is a slave to Jesuits who's brought to Japan and then he gets involved. Like, that makes sense.
It does.
He's an African guy who's enslaved to Jesuits. You have a built-in Templar assassins connection there. But also, when he fights, it plays hip-hop music. So I don't conflicted.
We gotta wait till the game comes out.
I don't know what the F you're talking about.
What was it? You said you were like you and your friends were having conversations about. Can't tell if this is cringe
or based. I don't know. I asked my resident black friend what he thought about.
My one black friend to speak for the black people,
and he couldn't give me a straight answer.
But no, I guess this is a relevant news item to talk about, Joey. I don't know if you've seen any of what's going on with us. Not the I'm mad that there's a black man and a woman in my Assassin's Creed game.
Okay.
Have you seen any of that?
No, I have seen that. Are you? I know the game got pushed back, and I know there's some weird stuff, and
do you know why it got pushed back?
I know does it have to do with their stocks?
No, it has to do with Outlaws.
No.
Star Wars Outlaws only sold 1 million copies.
Oh, wait, really?
Yes, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
And because the reviews were super tepid.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, yeah, the game's pretty good, except for the fact that it's a stealth-based game where people can see me through walls.
So, and this is kind of a, like, I feel like the game will sell more in the future, but the thing is, like, the temperature with Ubisoft, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know the way that I feel about every single Ubisoft game when I see it is I'm like, that seems interesting. I might get it when they fix it.
What's the catch? Exactly. And this one, like, everybody knew immediately.
Yeah.
Because reviewers were like, yeah, these are the problems. People were talking about it before the game came out, that it's incredibly buggy.
And the moment the game did come out, you saw people posting all the bugs online, and so it's like the game looks cool, but of course it's the same for me. I'm like, well,
except you have to go to Tatooine again.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
you know that image? It's like. It's like that really sketchy, like not troll face imagery. What are those, like, the other ones? What's the new ones? The Wojaks or whatever. It's it's like a crazy guy holding a rifle and the UN is kicking his door down.
I've seen that. Yeah.
There's a variation on that. It's like, I'm not going back to Tatooine. I'm not going back to Tatooine.
But no, it's like that game seems cool enough.
Like, it seems decent.
It seems fine, but I'm like, well, I'll get it when it's cheap and fixed.
That's the problem, is the reputation's fine. That's the thing that's like, I saw some people writing articles about this, and I'm inclined to agree. A lot of people were like, haha, look, yet again, Ubisoft gets dunked on. And, like, the problem is, these are games that have, like, a tremendous amount of production value. They're extremely detailed. There's a lot of artistic interest and note in these games. And in a vacuum, if you showed someone even, like, 10 years ago, much less 20 years ago, like Assassin's Creed Shadows or Star Wars Outlaws, if you showed somebody Star Wars Outlaws in the year 1990, their head would have exploded.
Yes.
And like, maybe that's a little bit of an unfair comparison, but, like, my point is that is a, like, super meticulously detailed big game that is just, like, you can't even call it lacking in polish necessarily, because there's so many areas where it is so intimately it's so carefully polished, and then there's other parts of it that are melting before your very eyes.
Yeah. And
it's like, how do you, like, and the stuff that's not working heavily outweighs how detailed the environments are and all that other stuff. But no, so they delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows because, to be fair, they were, like, coming out in, like, the same quarter. But yeah, like, this is like, they were back to Unity, where, like, no, this is actually impacting our day one sales much more heavily than Unity, because at least with Unity, it was like, I bought this stupid PS4/Xbox One.
I want a game for it. Yeah.
Whereas like right now, nobody's like there's it's already a like contested landscape and shut up, updates available.
Why not?
The AIs are coming for me.
The AIs are coming for me.
Dude, I'm sorry. I gotta mention this now since you just brought up AI.
So they delayed it. One sec, Josh. They delayed Shadows so they can launch it theoretically bug free.
Okay.
And they've announced an aggressive timeline for Outlaws. Yep. They've already released a couple of major patches, and I'm not gonna do it on this show, but if you go and read the patch notes, it's like, oh, that could happen.
Oh,
like certain things they don't address, like just improved detection.
Yeah.
During
fix
stealth.
the bug where this insane off the wall thing happened.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like you can't say like like the patch notes aren't going to read fixed specific bug where you could get spotted through sand dune from a mile away, because it's just a general problem with detection. So they just fixed the detection broadly. But then there's stuff like fixed problem where hitting uneven geometry in the overworld while on your speeder could launch you off your speeder. So it's like if you could bump into like a little bit of like an uneven pebble on the ground and you would just get launched off your bike apparently.
Fun.
And you're like this. Okay, sure. Sorry, Joshy. You saw something about AI. You say
no. It was. I saw an article that was talking about like a seminar that like one of the heads of like Facebook gave or something, right?
Okay.
Like it is just some tech elite, if you will,
some
right?
Tech elite.
And basically he said, he was asked like, aren't you worried about how AI could rise up? And he said something along the lines of, no, I think the entire narrative on that really needs to, is overly influenced by, the Terminator and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're not even close to like a point where we need to start worrying about that, right? And the article was like, and this shows like no one understands, and the people leading the industry are evil. And I'm like, dude, are the people commenting on this like, do they actually think that like Skynet is a week away?
I was just the other day getting upset again, like really getting truly heated, thinking about how calling this shit AI
it's so annoying.
It's so wrong. It's wrong.
Might be the single
greatest.
It's
just aggregating a bunch of information and using statistics to pop out an answer.
It's applied statistics, not artificial intelligence. I was thinking this might be the greatest marketing con job pulled off by the tech industry in history.
Yeah. It's all these are all just language models. Like even the ones that are not there for language, it's like the quote intelligence is at the level of just a learning model.
Here's the problem. I watched Terminator last week.
Yeah.
They say in that movie, freaking Kyle Reese says that it's like it's a language learning model. Like because the math was there in the 80s, right? So I forget if it's Kyle Reese who says it or if Arnold says it in Terminator 2. I forget which because I watched both last week. But it's like he uses the terminology, right? Because this has been within the realm of like we could comprehend it for like 45 freaking years.
We just don't have the computing power to do it.
Didn't have the computing power to do it until now.
Now, of course, Google is buying a significant percentage of power from nearby nuclear plants so they can keep their AI rolling because we have the power now.
Yeah, and it's everybody loves it, and it's influencing all these markets, and it's making them so much money, and they're definitely not scrambling to try to find any sort of viable use of them.
I really love the idea that we're using like I want to know the direct one-to-one of how much nuclear energy to light and heat a city to how many emails AI is going to help write.
Yeah.
How many bitcoins it's mining.
I want to know the direct one-to-one correlation on how many hours of powering a city are sacrificed by how many emails Google AI is going to help send in the next quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Write your own emails.
What?
It's like, and it's
wait. You want me to like proofread them for like 5 minutes?
Man, it's so transparent too because you read that stuff, you're like, oh come on, dude. This like I read this stuff and it's like if either an AI wrote this or a human being who's the most boring dude in the world that I never want to talk to wrote this.
Friend of mine who's a high school teacher has talked about she's an English teacher and she's very annoyed every time that the teachers around her start talking about how are we going to get this AI thing under control.
It's so easy
because like number
it's
one,
so fucking easy.
Like, number one, like you aren't gonna do anything.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
But number two,
I've seen it.
I'll let you say your piece in a second. I was gonna say, my friend's feeling is like, number one, we do literally have like the same way we have like plagiarism tests. We do have things that can show, percentage chance this was written by an AI. Now you can't necessarily use that because like it could be wrong. There's a margin of error. You can't like use that. To
and
say,
I've already seen plenty of horror stories of people like in college that are like, I just got a 0 because it said an AI wrote this and I wrote the whole thing.
Now, but here was my friend's comment: is number one. There's like certain patterns that you pick up on. For example, she said, AI really loves using the word delve way more than normal people, and certainly more than teenagers.
Yeah, it's like 3,000% higher than like common use.
For whatever. This is what I was talking about earlier when I'm like,
Google
you just gotta start...
chat, write my paper like a Rastafarian. That'll trick the teacher.
This is what I'm talking. Write it like
every third word is blunt. Now this might be a very blunt way to put this.
Write my paper like it's a Drake diss track.
Oh God!
A diss track of Drake, to be clear, not a
don't
Drake
write
diss
it like
track.
I'm Drake, please God.
No, not a Drake diss track written by Drake. A Kendrick Lamar diss track toward Drake.
Write my paper in the cadence of Obama's speech patterns.
Let me be clear.
And include us and ellipses. And hanging syllables.
Yes. Can you do ASCII art of the thing he does with his hand?
Write my paper with the cadence of Frank
and the
Costanza. My friend the teacher is like, it's pretty easy because you know these kids and you know who's smart and who isn't. Yeah. And you read the paper and you ask the kid to step outside in the hallway and you hold their paper up and you point at a word and you say, what does this word mean? Oh. And when they go, you go, you didn't write this.
Oh, that's rough, buddy.
or when they create the file within a minute of turning it in.
This is the other one where it's like, I can literally see like the timeline of alterations to the document in Google Drive where you had to submit it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like edits start at 7:59 at night, edits end at 8:01 at night. No other modifications to file, submitted at 8:02. But anyway, Joshua,
back in my day, it was so much harder to cheat efficiently. Back in my day, I literally bought the textbook that my teacher was using because he just got all the tests from the book and just memorized all the answers before the tests happened. That took work.
That's work.
That took 30 minutes of preparation.
You had to work for that.
You had to pay for that.
You know how much I sacrifice? I paid for that book with my own money.
So I could cheat good.
So I could cheat good.
There's no finesse to this cheating anymore.
Listen, is it really cheating, though? Because hear me out, okay?
I'm hearing you out, Joe.
Hear me out, okay? You weren't opening the book to look at the answers beforehand.
If you had to memorize the answers, then
because
you learned the information.
Because what's the difference between learning the answers of the book and learning, memorizing what you think is going to be on the test? It's just cutting out the bloat. It's efficient.
Joey, they hated Jesus because he told the truth.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, Joshua, you were freaking out a second ago while I was finishing sharing that other anecdote. You said it's so easy to catch them. Were you going to say something other than what I said?
I was going to bring up the delve point, and that was going to be one of the points.
There's just certain words that it just uses like way more frequently.
It is really funny because like people act like this is new. This is a new thing, right?
It's not.
I can give an example from today, right? Okay. So the AP has been writing basically auto-generated articles for sports since like the 80s. Because you can't have a beat writer everywhere.
Because news is coming in off the wire so fast.
And you're getting paid to have it on all these sports websites within 5 minutes of the game ending. So, like, for instance, I was watching a football game earlier.
The Associated Press's entire function is to get the basics of the story first for other people to pull from their wire.
Yes.
Continue, Joshua.
And so I was watching a football game earlier today, right when we started this, right? And it ended. And I'm looking at the summary on here, right? And usually in the opening paragraph of an AP article on a sports game, right? Any sport, doesn't matter what it is, it will start with key player makes key play from, if it's a pass, from this other key player or in tandem with this other key player during this part of the game as whatever team beat whatever team by whatever score on the day.
Mm-hmm.
That is 100% how every single one starts, right? But in terms of quality, I think now they are straight up using AI for them, because in terms of quality, they've gotten worse. Like this one that I'm reading right now, it goes backwards in the game timeline. Like you summarize the key moment in the first paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Then you do the narrative of the game, like, oh, at the start, the momentum was going with this team, and then as you go, you build to that final point again, right?
You paint
talk about
the story.
Yes.
And then you talk about next steps for the team. I'm gonna just neither of y'all watch this game. I won't get into specifics, right? But I'm just gonna give you an idea of how this thing jumps around.
No, go ahead. Feel free, dude. Go ahead.
Summarizes in the first two paragraphs, right?
Okay.
It does the key point that I'm talking about. It always does first paragraph, right? It then talks about next steps for the two teams in paragraphs 2 and 3.
Okay.
Then it talks about, okay, after that key moment that we mentioned, this team tried to do this thing, and basically it allowed this other team to do this thing. If you want to just straight up
read it, it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. People know what day this happened on.
I guess, yeah. So, trailing by a score, this team, took over possession from its own 30 with however much time left. An unsportsmanlike conduct penalty stymied the drive and allowed this team to stretch their lead. This is with 2 minutes left, right?
Okay.
So it's still at the end. And then it goes back to the beginning and said this team had a bunch of turnovers and trailed at halftime. And then it goes to the third quarter and is like, well, then they grabbed a lead by doing this. And then in the fourth quarter, the other team answered by doing this. Article ends.
Meanwhile, Boomer John is reading this article and going, this guy must have been drunk when he wrote this.
Like, literally.
Maybe tomorrow's articles will be
obvious.
better.
And it used to be, because the AP, it was clear they had like a Mad Libs, basically, for this shit,
they just,
right?
they just plug the information in, yeah.
But now it's clear that it's AI.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can see a marked drop off over the last 5 years. Well, they'll get names wrong, they'll get timestamps wrong, they'll post stats wrong. Like I saw this on the ESPN ticker right when the game ended, right? They had like one of the starting quarterback's stats. They had him like 150 passing yards short of what he had.
That's sick.
And it was just way off, and I'm like, it's clear that the guy who used to make sure all that shit was correct has been fired.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man. It's
ChatGPT, write an article like this guy we fired.
Literally.
ChatGPT, write a letter explaining why we have to fire this guy. Alrighty, so I do have a couple other things I want to talk about before we wrap up. I kind of talked about stuff I've been doing recently, and then we got way distracted. And I think, Joey, we kind of talked earlier, you don't have like a ton of stuff you've been up to recently that's worth, like, throwing your hat in the ring on.
Yeah, it's
not to sound dismissive, but
no, I mean, times have been tough, so not a whole lot has been happening. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and shock, it's a good game, crazy, and I got nothing to say about it. I'm almost done with Act 2 now.
But I also really don't want this to be another like 4-hour recording. So I have one thing I wanted to talk to Joshua about. Joshua, can you explain succinctly, this is my challenge to you, ChatGPT, explain succinctly what the gameplay of Crusaders Kings 3 normally looks like.
Okay, I have to sit up in my chair, push up my imaginary glasses. So normally in Crusader Kings, you take the role of anyone between, I think the lowest rank you could be in base game and also in CK2 was a count, unless modded, of course. You'd be anywhere between a count and an emperor, and the entire thing is you have your feudal domain, and you're trying to basically, extend your feudal domain, make it stronger. If you start as a count, you're trying to make your way up the social ladder and keep it together. You're doing a bunch of family stuff, trying to secure succession. You're probably, getting into hijinks, murdering people, having affairs.
So I want to be clear. This is
It's like 50% grand strategy game and 50% kind of light RPG.
This is what we would describe as a spreadsheet game.
I was about to say, this is not a Baldur's Gate 3 immersive world. This is a map and menus, correct?
I would disagree with the sentiment of spreadsheet game. That would be true of Victoria. That would be true of Europa. That would be true of Hoi 4. CK, in terms of kind of the gameplay loop, is a lot different in terms of just there's a lot more like human interactions of we're gonna have you're trying to seduce this person so that you can
yes,
like there's dialogue trees and stuff. It's not as much of a spreadsheet game, but I understand the overall sentiment. Yes.
It is to the spreadsheet game freaks. It is light on spreadsheets.
Okay.
To those who do not play spreadsheet games, it's still pretty heavy on the spreadsheets.
To a guy that's like, well, do you pick up a gun and shoot? No. Okay. Oh, it's nerd shit. Enough. Gotcha.
So anyway, so this is what CK normally looks like. Is you are managing a country. You are expanding. I don't know. You can like focus on just making yours really firm, or you can conquer. It's these games are all very open ended. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. But you have an element of you have like characters. You spawn in as this count who has traits and strengths and weaknesses that affect the role playing elements of the game and the dialogue trees within the game, and their ability to do certain things successfully. And the game takes place over decades and decades of time, assuming you don't lose. So you are basically in game doing like, I'm trying to marry the right person, and that didn't work out. I need to have a kid with somebody else and somehow manage to worm it so that they are still the legitimate heir.
Or right now, my succession law means that all of my kids are going to get equal parts of my kingdom. Oh crap, that's going to split it apart unless I'm able to form this empire before I die, because then that's a higher ranked tag. So
that's going to split it apart unless I kill all but one of my children.
I mean, no, there's one of the few like in-game rules where it's like, no, you just straight up can't do that, is you cannot kill your children.
But you can send them off to do stuff that might get them killed, though, right?
Yes.
Well,
yes, absolutely.
That's what I mean. You're not doing anything, but if they die out there...
oh no, exactly. So
I had a really good the grandson of my original character had some really strong stats, but now this kid that I've got now, it's bad because I'm going into wartime and he's all like bookish and meek, and it's hurting my ability to run war effectively. So just explain what this game normally is. Joshua, please explain the recent content patch for CK3.
Oh no.
Well, technically it is an expansion pack.
It's an expansion.
It's called Roads to Power.
Excuse me.
And basically, it added a bunch of details and a bunch of mechanics for like the regular game too. It added a bunch of stuff for like the Byzantine Empire and like a bunch of new like flavor stuff for them and a new government type for the Byzantines. It's really interesting. None of that shit matters.
None of that shit matters. Tell me about the stuff that you want to talk about.
So something that was a mod in CK2 that like was kind of popular was this idea of what if you could play as a landless character. What if you could play as just some medieval schmuck peasant?
Okay.
What would that look like?
How would that work with these systems?
Yeah, how would that work with these systems? Like, you have things like Mountain Blade where you kind of do that.
But that's a third-person action game.
Yes.
But that's a third-person action game, and that facilitates it. How the hell do you make it work in a spreadsheet game, right? So they basically introduced, you can now play as a wandering character that can just like walk around the map and go do like side quests for nobles.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Some of them are like, you get like a posse together and you can like go and like protect subjects, or you can go help a guy, or like literally help a lord like do his books and like shit like that, like very inane stuff that you get like a small amount of money for. And you can like be upgrading like your camp tent to be like getting passive buffs as you do this to like start building up.
Because you have no land.
But
yeah,
you're just squatting somewhere.
It can get stupid where if you help certain lords enough, you get to the point where you can start asking them for favors ranging from like gold or like, hey, do you have a courtier who's like, has a claim that I can marry or something because I've helped you out, stuff like that. So you can like start to like get a claim. Or you can do my personal favorite, which is you say like, hey man, would you be willing to like lend me some men-at-arms? Like soldiers, like 50 to 100 guys.
Okay.
Who are like, armored the badasses, right? And a lot of times it'll be, yeah, hell yeah, right? And so then you can start using your money and your provisions to get more and more soldiers. And well, this opens up a couple of paths. What I haven't mentioned is that there are criminal paths.
Ooh.
To a lot of this. A lot of the missions you can do, both for lords and just yourself, are just like, F it, I'm just gonna go and mug people. And there's an entire crime and reputation system built into all of this through the menus.
This sounds rad.
And so you can just go and form a posse and start beating the shit out of people. Or you can then take this, you've gotten a bunch of men-at-arms from people. What you can also do is you can form your own mercenary band and hire yourself out to go and fight wars on either sides. And if you're like popular enough, you can be like, yeah, I'll fight for you if you give me land. And that's one of your inroads and if you want to become landed, right? But you can also just as a mercenary be like, I'm Catholic. Those guys over there are heretics. I'm just going to start my own holy war against them and go kill them by myself and take all their land. And I get a ton of legitimacy and the Pope loves me because I'm like spreading the true faith. And now I own all of it.
This sounds super cool.
So an element of this is when Joshua started playing this, he had a couple of really unsuccessful first rounds because you are just like, even in the normal game, this game has some very like Oregon Trail dice rolls of like, oh, you got dysentery, sucks.
Yeah.
And so obviously when you're playing as a normal guy, those dice rolls go way, way, way up. So there is, it is entirely possible. You click a button, it's like, oh, sorry, rocks fell, everybody died. Especially early game. Joshua, can you try and, like, to the best of your recollection, like, outline to me the first, like, substantial run you had as a commoner, like, a week or two ago?
So this is after having multiple runs in a row where I've either gotten eaten by wolves or gotten the plague. Literally.
You should have had fire. They ill like fire.
There is one event where you can have a wolf attack you, and it's the one that I died on. And there's like, you can fight it, and it's like good chance you kill it, good chance it injures you, and like a very small chance it kills you, and that's what happened. There's also a different one you can do. Like one of the other options is you basically just yeet one of your companions at the wolf and run away
to satiate it while you get out.
After on your first real game though, what happened? First success.
So on my first real game, I kind of followed this mercenary path that I described. I'm just kind of running around. I think I started in the UK, or I guess England at this point, Ingerland. And I'm running around. I'm running around helping Brexit Bobby and his friends like do inane jobs until I have a decent sized army. And then I go over to France and I'm being a mercenary and I'm helping guys in France win wars and stuff. I do this for a while, and then eventually I get to the point where the Crusades start popping off. And one of the Crusades, they decide to go for Pomerania. So I guess that's like what would now be like Eastern Germany and Western Poland, kind of along the Baltic coast for those who are uninitiated. So it's kind of in Europe, right? But there's guys following pagan religions up there or whatever, right? So
the world used to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, so it's we're gonna go up there and liberate it, right? So I dedicate my like 500 dudes to the Crusade, right?
Yeah.
And they're all like really like good units because I've spent years in France. Like everyone's super battle hardened, right? So we show up and immediately destroy the main like opposing army in the Crusades. And since we're in France, I'm able to sail over faster than most of Europe because smaller force, and I leave early before the AI starts going over there, and I'm already pretty close by. So I get over there first, like kill one of their armies and besiege a couple of castles before one of their other armies kills me, right? And so my army's dead, but I look at my Crusade participation and it's like through the roof because I blew up an army like 4 times my size.
Yeah.
So the Crusade ends. And usually when a crusade happens, you can set a beneficiary, right? Someone in your family will get land from this crusade if it's successful.
Okay.
And I didn't have, like, my family was tiny, right? And, like, no one was eligible to be a beneficiary. And I couldn't do it. You can't, if you're the one crusading, you can't be the one to do it because it's like, oh, you're going there for God. You're not going there for your own glory, so you can't be the one to do it or whatever.
Sure.
Right? So I can't do it. So I can't take any land. But the world doesn't understand that I can't do it because it's literally not an option.
So he gets piety points
Yes, the world
becomes...
sees that, oh, I was just so humble that I was willing to lead the crusade, but none of my family members personally profited, and I was just the most pious guy ever.
I went and defeated this army and asked for no reward in return.
Asked for no reward.
So he becomes the most popular man in Europe.
And so I get like an insane amount of piety and prestige points, right? Which are like your main two standing. Like prestige improves your relations with like nobles, and piety with the clergy, right? So the nobles and the clergy both love me. And I'm also like a folk hero at this point because I've been running around like doing odd jobs for forever in England, right? So I sail back to England. And another mechanic that got added with the second to last DLC was this idea of legends. The idea that, oh, you know, in certain areas there's folklore that's told about, you know, specific things, right? And oh, if you fill prerequisites, you can claim to be part of this legend, and it gives you a bunch of buffs, right?
Cool.
So I was in Ingerland, right? And I'm this young dude who has a ton of freaking prestige and piety, who is insanely good on the battlefield and like comes from common origin, right? So people start saying that my character is the second coming of King Arthur. And so I buy into it, and I start spending a bunch of money to make people believe that, like to send guys out to tell people that, yeah, he's King Arthur waking up to save Britain in its time of need, right? As the legend goes. And so Britain's been has been fucked for a while now. Like there's very like,
and in the
very
game
bad.
too.
Their army's tiny. Well, yes, that too. So this gives me a claim on the Kingdom of Britain, which I press my claim and declare war on the crown, and I win, and I take control of England. At which point, because I've done the King Arthur thing, I gain the ability to build in my realm capital, which I just put in Lancaster because it was where I was able to steal land from nobles the easiest. I was able to build a special building, which was Camelot.
Yeah!
So I build Camelot, and while I'm doing all this shit, another crusade pops off. So I go to fight in you know, the Levant to free Jerusalem, right? And I'm the top contributor again because my army's so badass at this point. So at this point, my kids are a bit older in game, right? So like they're actually adults. I can set them as beneficiaries. So my firstborn son's gonna inherit Ingerland, right?
Yeah.
But what I do is I put my secondborn kid, who's my daughter, I put her on the throne of Jerusalem. And I switched to playing as her.
My God.
And then I went on conquering the Holy Land for a bit before I called it, because it was just after that I was good.
The story was basically over at that point.
So, yes, exactly. I peaked and I knew it.
This
update's incredible.
This is from a game where your run can end early on because a wolf killed you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Josh, I wanted you to give like a full summary of one. Can you give us like the cliff notes of a couple of other runs you've done with this?
Okay, so yeah,
thing?
the other one that's probably the most exciting was there's an achievement in the game called Rags to Riches to Rags to Riches, which is you have to start as a count, the lowest landed class, right? You then have to rule an empire after starting as a count, right? Like you can go down in generations, but like you have to start as a count and then work your way up.
In the save file,
Yeah.
start as a count, run an empire.
And then after you rule an empire, you have to either abdicate or get deposed, become an adventurer again, or not again, because you're not an adventurer on this one, you start landed, but you become an unlanded peasant just walking around, and then form an empire again.
Oh my God.
This is a riff on an old achievement that was just called Rags to Riches, where you just had to go from count to emperor. It was a pretty easy achievement to get once you were decent at the game. This one's a bit more complicated, as you might guess.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get this, and I wanted to get it. At first I wanted to get it relatively quickly, so I played as one of the Viking characters, whose account who the Vikings early on in the game, they're very strong because they kind of wrecked all of, Europe.
Yeah.
So they're very strong early game. And there's like a few pretty OP characters to play as in like the start date that's during the Viking Age. So I played as one of them whose account, and I immediately invaded a bunch of tribal land, actually in like the same area of Pomerania where I did that crusade in the other game.
They just can't catch a break.
Yeah, no, and it's this very small area of land. It's one of the smallest areas in the game that is associated with an empire tag. So it's like, oh, it'll just be fast. I can make an empire really quick, right? And I do it in one lifetime. This guy's still alive. He's like 70 once I actually form it, right?
Yeah.
And that's like pretty good. I'm like, holy crap, okay, that was fast. I was like, but I don't really just want to like get deposed and then try to take the same one back. Like that's gonna be kind of boring. Like, and I kind of want to do something different. And so I forget exactly what happened. I know there was like some weird chicanery that happened to where I was like, oh shit, I need to go ahead and become an adventurer right now. I couldn't wait for like my daughter to inherit. Like I think my firstborn son died and I only had one other kid. And it was like just kind of a bad situation. And like she did not have great stats. So I was like, I kind of need to start now and just hope I have another kid. I should mention the guy is 89 at this point.
Oh no.
He's still alive. I basically rolled insanely lucky. The guy I start with starts with like a bunch of insanely good like health modifiers, so he lives a lot longer. But I then got one that's just a random dice roll when you have prerequisites that gives him like a huge boost. It's like aging gracefully or something. Otherwise, dudes don't usually live past 80.
Yeah.
But this dude's like insanely old, right? So I also I basically just imprisoned people until I got deposed. Like I just did tyrannical shit until they deposed me.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm walking around, and I'm kind of still chilling out in Pomerania. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I want to do now. Like I know I want to found an empire, but like where? At this point, I've converted to Christianity, and I'm like, and the local culture. So I'm a Christian Pomeranian walking around, not a dog. Just a guy. And I'm walking around. I'm like
Christian Pomeranian Viking. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, and I'm like, shit. I need an heir, right? And I don't know the mechanics for adventuring very well because I haven't played it a ton yet. And I'm like, shit. I need an heir, and like, I can't marry anyone because I don't have any rank. I got no bitches, no nothing, right? and I'm like, okay. And I run into like the first town that I can find. And there happens to be like a woman in the tavern that I just pay on the spot to join my camp and shotgun marry, right?
Okay.
It's like some poor 20-year-old, right? It's not that bad, I swear. And
you don't get it. It's for the stats, though.
It's just a spreadsheet game. It's not real.
But I was like, this dude's fucking 90 though, and like after like a year, nothing's happened. I'm like, the guy's dudes probably can't swim at this point.
Yeah.
Like I'm screwed, right? And I'm like, wait, there's a mechanic to adopt someone when you're an adventurer because they know that like getting married as an adventurer is kind of hard.
Okay.
And which I didn't know my first few games, which is part of why when I was dying of dysentery, the game would just end.
Yeah.
But so I adopt some random dude, and then I immediately regret it. Because then the freaking 20-year-old immediately gets pregnant.
What?
He's got the aging well.
Oh my god.
Bro is like 93 at this point. And at this point, I come up with a plan. I'm like, okay, at this point, this guy's a menace to society, right?
That child will never know its father because it will die. He will die of old age.
Yes, and so like at this point, it's like this guy is a menace to society. He's imprisoned a bunch of people, got deposed, and he's running around knocking up random women in the land, right? At this point, I'm pretty sure he's a criminal, even if the game doesn't know it, right?
Yeah.
So I figured, where would they go if they're trying to get as far away from the authorities as possible? And I settled on Tibet.
Okay.
So my guy began the long walk in-game because you have to physically do travel.
At 93 years old.
At 93 years old, began the long trek across Eurasia to get to Tibet. It took 3 in-game years.
But he made it?
He made it!
Oh my god! 96 years old.
Yes, I have the screenshot of him as he died, but basically, he looks like a freaking freak. It's great.
Because it does generate a little CG character for your player characters.
But he gets there. Sadly, So at this point, I have betrothed the guy I adopted to the kid that the 93-year-old ended up having.
Okay.
However, through some chicanery, basically she ended up back at the court in Pomerania where I'd left. And so she was outside of my diplomatic range, and I was like, I don't want to walk all the way back. So he just got married to some random Chinese lady in Tibet. At which point, so then dude dies like right after they get to Tibet, right? Like his journey is finally over, right?
He can finally rest.
It's like his spiritual journey.
Yes, and so it's finally he gets there, and so we have this Christian Pomeranian family chilling in Tibet trying to find odd jobs. And basically, I start doing the mercenary strat again. So I'm just doing a bunch of random shit. And at this point, I go to this. I go ahead and I switch cultures. There's a bunch of different cultures up there, but I went with Han Chinese just because I thought it was funny. And so now I stayed Catholic. Very importantly, I stayed Catholic.
Okay.
And because that allows me to do holy wars.
Good.
Because everyone in Tibet is technically a heretic in the eyes of the church, right?
Okay.
So after I've done enough favors for people and my guy's converted to Han Chinese and married a local woman, he basically starts a bunch of holy wars to start trying to take land up there, right?
Yeah.
And it goes fairly well. Within 2 generations, we've snowballed to his son, one generation, we've snowballed to his son, who lost his right arm in a horrible childhood accident.
Oh my.
But is extremely powerful and is now leading a massive freaking holy war against every single other person in Tibet. I was afraid that I would not be able to marry anyone but lowborns because I was like, I think everyone counts as a heretic and you can't marry heretics. However, apparently Buddhism is close enough to Catholicism in the Middle Ages where I could marry a bunch of East Indian people and that was okay.
Sick.
So I had a bunch of alliances with like Indian people and Burmese guys that were coming over the mountains to help me.
I mean, there is that one anime where Jesus and the Buddha are hanging out. So.
This is true.
I mean, yeah, it's probably dates back to that, honestly, and so I'm
all the way
I'm
back
marching,
to that ancient tome.
And so I'm marching down, and like at this point, I have converted like the entire area of the map, which is a very small part of the map because it's Tibet. There's like a very small part that's Han Chinese, and at this point, all of it is Christian. And like adventurers are arriving in my court like every week, who are like freaking combat badasses who have converted and want to fight for the true faith and all that shit.
Sick.
Who I'm able to immediately just gift land because I'm fighting a war basically every 3 months to take more land, and I'm just like immediately rewarding people, which leads to more people showing up, right?
Because everybody wants
And
land.
so
Yeah.
And so it all culminates in we form Tibet, and I'm on like the great grandson of the original guy, and so at the end oh my bad, I forgot one detail, which is so diplomatic range is a thing in the game where if you're too far away from another part of the map, you literally cannot have diplomatic relations with them.
Sure.
Because it's too far. It's the Middle Ages, right? Makes sense. There's one exception to that rule. That being your head of religion. So the Pope could talk to me.
Okay.
And the Pope thought I was the greatest thing ever because of the amount of land I was liberating for the church, right?
Yeah.
So I could ask him for money basically every 6 months, and he was just like, yeah, man, take it. Take all my shit. So I could just buy more and more mercenaries, and eventually it got to the point where I had so much piety and so much influence that for every war, I was hiring the Knights Templar to come and fight for me. So I had 7,000 like Frenchmen and Italians were spawning outside of Lhasa to besiege Tibetan capitals.
That's crazy.
And so I ended that game. I ended that game with a united empire of Tibet, which was being quickly converted to Catholicism, and is now controlled by a Han Chinese monarch. This is not a political statement, I swear.
It's just a spreadsheet game.
See, when this
It's just a
conversation was
spreadsheet
first
game.
beginning, I was thinking that, and because a lot of times with these kinds of games, you hear about an update or a patch coming out or an expansion coming out that just screws everything up. So I thought that's where this conversation was going. This sounds rad.
No,
that's kind of been the MO with Paradox.
Yeah, I was about to say most of the time.
Most of the time, you're absolutely right. They suck ass. And especially over the last 5 years, their quality control has gotten terrible. Their QA has not been up to snuff at all.
But they got it right this time.
And everyone had been saying ever since they announced this one, which was like 18 months ago, because they knew it was a big deal. Everyone was just like, please don't screw this one up. Please. This has the capability to be like the coolest thing ever. And they didn't screw it up.
Hell yeah.
It's so much fun.
It's not
it's part of the reason I have not played Metaphor yet.
None of it's a political statement. It's just spreadsheets. It's just numbers. None of it's real. I'm just moving numbers around in Microsoft Excel. The countries are arbitrary. The religions are arbitrary. The age of that woman was arbitrary.
But yeah, so very fun. Highly recommend.
Anyway,
Cannot recommend highly enough.
Joshua called me like 2 weeks ago and outlined that first one, and I was like, we need to recap this with Joey in the room at some point.
This sounds so good.
Anyway, I think I'm going to call it there because this is already another pretty long recording. I was going to call it a few minutes ago. I was like, wait, I forgot. I wanted to talk to Joshua about CK3. So I think we're going to call it there. That's another episode of the Research Log. I sure hope I release it soon, but it'd be very funny if it takes like 2 months.
It would be funny.
It'd be very funny. Anyway, any closing thoughts on any of that from anybody else before I just hit the record button and take total control of this?
Not really. Maybe this will come out in 2 or 3 months, and maybe the brand new like foot-based event from Overwatch will be out by then.
Yes, this is a good point. We may have to record a little addendum when there's more feet. We have to add feet to the video in post.
Turn it to the feet cast.